And here we are, another Thursday here, and I hope you guys understand why we kind of sort of recycled the thumbnail back to Toy Story. For those who may not be paying attention to box office numbers here, Toy Story 5 led the box office last week, and Supergirl kind of flopped. And it's weird, and that's the reason why I say it's like some things, just perform better than others. I have no idea one way or the other, but
I think Supergirl has flopped, and I had not planned to watch it just because I had, from what I could see of the previews, it was kind of not going the direction I kind of remember Supergirl from back when I was a girl. So I didn't feel as interested, but I've been reading up on it, and a lot of people, because this was more of a girls thing, people like, well, this is a girls' film, and guys didn't want to go with their girlfriends to see the movie, and most of the people panning the movie have been men, as opposed to women's groups who are panning it. There are a lot of men who, before the movie was even out, were all up in it. And so I think this was more of a case of, guys going, well, I don't want to get dragged onto some female superhero movie. But kids movies, parents will go for that. More kids will go for that. I'm thinking this Supergirl will probably be one of those movies where it won't do as well at the box office, but the minute it hits streaming services, that's where it will start performing.
I would tend to agree with that, but that's not. But what you heard is different from what I heard.
Okay.
From those who I know that went to see it, they said that it was a good waste of 2 hours, but it didn't meet expectations. They were saying it's a good popcorn movie, but it's not Supergirl. Or they complained about, well, this is not, Woman of Tomorrow series from the comic books, or the ending they took too much liberties in that story. And then there was other, like you said, groups, mostly male, that had the Brie Larson treatment to this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like they got upset about some things that the main actress said, and they wanted to pan the movie because of that here. First show on vacation TV.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot to unpack with those few sentences.
Mm-hmm.
So first, I'm not in a big rush to see it because I just got done seeing The Mandalorian and Grogu, and there's Family 4 that was like $1,000 to go to the movies. So I'm not in the rush to go back.
Where did you go? Because we went to the matinee and we only spent $300.
Well, down here in the South, we spend money, so we got to pay for the extra air conditioner.
Okay. Because I'm like, we took what we did. My sister, thank you, Lisa, was kind enough to sponsor that trip, and we went to the matinee, and I got the $80 Grogu in the pram popcorn keeper, but I didn't get the popcorn because I didn't want. We'd already got in, and it was my youngest had to make a run to the bathroom, and then getting him to the bathroom, I was waiting for him, so I turned to look. You turn around, you're trying to look at stuff. The only thing there is the concession stand, and I saw the empty helmets and then the little prams with Grogu in them. And I said, "How much for the helmet?"
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, well, it's like." I forgot what he said. He says, when you get popcorn, it's like, I don't want the popcorn. I just want the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And when John came out, I said, do you want the helmet? And he said, no. I'm like, oh. And the guy was sitting there looking like, oh. He goes, Grogu. He saw the Grogu in the pram. It's like, ha. So he ended up with Grogu in the pram, and by the time we got when that part up, that was almost $200 plus our train tickets to get home, and the over $100 that we spent, over at Five Bros, Five
Mhm.
Burgers,
Five Guys, five
Five
bros,
Guys
five
Burgers,
guys.
Five
Five
Guys,
bros, I know what you're talking
Five
about.
Guys Burgers, because we like them Five Guys Burgers, and those milkshakes are not to be trifled. But yeah, so by the time that was over, we'd spent like a bit over 300. But
Mhm.
$1,000? I mean, how
That
did you
was me
get
being
there?
that was me being sarcastic.
Oh,
It
okay. Because I
wasn't
was
quite
about to say,
$1,000,
how did you get there? Did you take a jet
but it was way more expensive than it should have been for a matinee. But there's also the whole factor of, yes, Toy Story 5 just came out. That's going to affect it. Yes, a bunch of people who don't know Supergirl from their asshole complained about some lines that some chick who read Tom King said about Supergirl's sexual orientation, calling themselves out because none of those dumb sons of bitches know that she used to date a horse.
That, and these are probably the same guys who insist that they have a tri-life
Yep.
and then can't
And
figure out why girls don't want to date them.
and what underperformance are we comparing it to? The original Supergirl movie that made like $10 and nobody, including the people in it, remember it?
Well,
You mean the one
you
with
have to
Kristen Stewart
understand that
sister?
Supergirl.
in the James Gunn universe,
All right, well, let's look at
Okay.
James. Okay,
up
we'll
under
look.
this new Warner
There's
Brothers
been
Discovery.
one. There's been one movie since he's been in charge, and it was Superman. Of course, it's not going to do as well as Superman. It. The only other comparisons for girl-led superheroes in the DC universe are the Wonder Woman movies, which came out at the beginning of the superhero boom.
Yeah.
The Supergirl TV show, which either you hated it or you loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Captain Marvel and the Marvel movies, which were still in the middle of the boom, but all the dude bros shit on it because it was a girl superhero and not a man.
No,
Yeah.
everybody shitted on Captain Marvel
No, they
because of
also
what Brie
they
Larson
crapped
said,
on the
and
Marvel.
nobody went to go see the Marvels like I did, or at least I saw the Marvels on streaming, and that was actually a decent movie.
Courtney and I saw it on streaming. We liked it. Oh, I scout Courtney.
Yeah.
She's
Oh,
she's
good
sitting
job.
here. She's all she's all bald and stuff. She's like, "Can you just trim this for me?" Then I grabbed her and went, and so she's all bald now. Poor thing.
It's like, could you give me a little trim? It's like, I can see you now. You probably put her in the head like it was like, oh, Clippers. Yo, yo. We
But
got to
I
go
just
old school, but I agree. Stuff
I,
was taken
and
out of context, and you are correct. Brie Larson actually insulted people
She
in
did,
that
and
one
that's
press
why I didn't
conference.
see the first Captain Marvel movie. I heard about the inserts, read that article, and it's like, sweetie, you need to learn. You need to get better management because
Mhm.
somebody should be taking you by the hand and go, bitch, shut up.
now I
Just
don't remember
just
exactly what she said,
smile
and
and look pretty for the camera, but shut your ass up.
but
And
see, that's
It
the problem
was
right there with what Elaine said. Look pretty and shut up. You would not be saying that if it was a male actor.
well, it's not
If a
even it's
male
not even
actor
that. She
but
came out
here's
the
the
gate.
thing.
She came out the gate saying, "Where are all of the female reporters of color, and all this other stuff? How dare you?" She came out and pointed out these are the people who normally report on this type of stuff, and they're mostly male. She pointed out the lack of diversity on it and belittled these reporters. All of
She
that stuff came out.
she could have said, it would have been nicer, considering this is a female superhero movie, if we had more female reporters representing here. But she came out in a way, and she is not a child. This is not some 12-year-old. Okay, she's a grown ass woman. Something in her brain should have said, there's a way that I can say this where everybody and his mama are not going to get their little butts in a twist, and I won't hurt the movie. And she didn't do that. There were things she could have done that she should have done, and she could have still got her point across. And without, because when everything is riding on you, and you are a woman, okay, they're already looking for a reason to fault you. So you're doing a female superhero, Marvel's first female superhero movie that's coming down the pipe, that's supposed to be a major part.
Well, second.
Second. But what I'm saying is,
people keep forgetting about Black Widow.
Black Widow didn't come until after all of that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't release Black Widow until after Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Black Widow didn't.
But they were sitting on it though.
They were sitting on it. They put her up before Endgame. So they had done Black Widow, but they were sitting on it. So hers was the first to come out. Now she could have said, "Wow, it would have been a little. This would have been a little easier." And yeah, I'm a little nervous because I'm leading the pack here, and this would have been a little easier if, say, they had gone on and released Black Widow. Mm-hmm. That way, you could have put the onus back on the studio. But when you come out and you automatically, and knowing anytime a woman criticizes, it's all that, it can be, especially by the bros, it's going to be taken all that much more out of context. And like I said, she may be blind, but she ain't stupid.
By no means.
So she could have, to have gotten to that point, somebody should have said, "Hey, when you go out here, think about what you're carrying, because you're carrying this movie. This is Captain Marvel. This is not Captain Marvel and Friends."
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you can point out that, hey, it would be nice if there had been more women and maybe people of color here. But to get up and do it in a way where you automatically set the ones that are there, you got their hackles up. You automatically have gone in. Now you've got a double fight. And these guys, they just sliced her to bits.
It was a triple fight.
Because
the third thing was, a lot of people were upset that they announced that she was supposed to be the most powerful character in the MCU.
Yeah.
And when that came out, they were up here like, yeah, that's not good. And then if you watch the movie, Brie made the character not likable. Brie made Carol Danvers not likable. It took them some special ass writing in the Marvels movie to make her likable in some degree. That's the reason why they did the whole thing about the musical planet that they went to, and how people speak in song and music to try to make Carol likable.
I was already pissed because my Captain Marvel after the gold guy was Monica Rambeau, the girl who outside of Storm faced off with Dracula and made him go, "Oh, I think I need a nap." That's my Captain Marvel. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was already not in the best of
moods. That's why I love the ending. I love the ending where it wasn't Carol that saved the day. It was Monica. But it cost Monica. It cost Monica in the long run.
Yeah.
Now, see, this is again where you and me got to be at odds, Elaine. My Captain Marvel is a 13-year-old boy who's a radio host.
and I understand. I actually enjoyed the ABC Saturday morning. ABC Saturday morning back in my day in the 70s, mm-hmm. They used to have an hour of hero shows, and one of those was Shazam.
Yep. And then
you had every other week would ISIS. You had ISIS, you had Shazam, and I think there was one more, and they would rotate. Mm-hmm. So you would get 2 a week. And mm-hmm. I love that Billy Batson. I'm not paying $21 ticket for it. Okay.
Yep.
Even
she got me thinking about Harlem Nights.
But getting back to the whole thing about Brie Larson.
Yep.
I'm sure that her over the topness with the media hurt the movie some, but the people who really shit on that movie We're the same. We're not the people that live and die by those media interviews. They are the dude bros who I also heard complaining about Black Panther because it was too African.
Yeah,
They were just mad because it wasn't another movie about a dude,
a white dude specifically. Because
so
Black
that
Panther, they had a dude. He was black, but they had a white dude.
Yeah,
In
Claw was
fact, they're
white.
white. They had both Gollum and Mr. Frodo. I mean, not Frodo. Bill. Yeah, Bilbo. They had Bilbo and Gollum. Hello, they had that. It's not like they didn't get shit, but yeah, there's always that. I think they're like what that group that shut down the Muppet Show off ABC, the Million Moms, and it turned out there were like maybe 100,000 of them, if that, not even. They're a small group, but they're exceptionally vocal, and they have enough connections where they can yell at just the right people. And because of that, they get heard and they cause more damage. And the thing that gets me is most of these bastards who do this don't even go see the movie. Or they sneak in when they figure no one's going to someplace where no one's going to notice them. And then they're sitting there going, oh, that's a good movie. But it's the make the noise and get the clicks and the likes that they're going for. It's like half the dudes I see doing these. There are these dudes who it's like, really, dude? You're giving this message in this day and age, and it's like, I get it. You're getting the clicks. And you've got that account where because you've got so many clicks and so many likes, you're getting paid. And that's what you're doing it for. You're doing it for the clicks and you're getting a little money off of it. And that's what you're doing it for. It doesn't mean what you feel about it really is nothing like what you're saying, but that's not what's going to get you the attention and the clicks and shit. So you're going to yell and scream and make this play like you're so offended and it's just not quality, because that's going to give you the clicks and whatnot. But that's really not, if you've seen the movie, you probably haven't even seen anything beyond the first trailer. And you've already had an attitude. It's like, the first trailer doesn't tell you anything other than this is who's in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's like, I just can't afford to go to every movie I want to see that comes out. So I have to wait till it hits the streaming services. Mm-hmm. Because that's, I'm too busy trying to fund my art and stuff. So I don't have money to just run up to the theater and stuff. So I have to wait till it gets on streaming. But this would not be the first time. And my hope is that especially as young women start catching this movie on the streaming services. Because I actually, somebody posted on Facebook about, they had read the reviews and whatnot. And while it wasn't the film they had expected or wanted it to be, it was a lot better than what they thought. So they weren't going to crap all over it. And it's like, thank you. It's not what you expected. It's not what you wanted, but it was a better film than people were trying to make out. Thank you. That's an honest review. I am hoping enough young women will, because their boyfriends, somebody's boyfriend's cousin, brother's drunken uncle told his drug dealer some stupid ass crap. I am hoping they're all smart enough to get up and say, hey, we're going to, while they go out there to play, to do, whatever they're going to do, we're going to plan a girls' weekend or girls' night. We'll make popcorn. We'll get our sodas. We'll go to so-and-so's house, and we're just going to watch this film. And those groups will watch it, and then they'll start talking to their networks. And like I said, it won't be the big theatrical hit, but it'll be a sleeper hit on streaming. Enough of these young women will go see it and start talking to each other and stuff. And hopefully the studios will eventually learn that this 50 or something guys who are sitting there just taking care of themselves, can't get a date for anything, are not the theater going public and to start countering this crap. Because we unfortunately, once we lost Siskel and Ebert, we started losing a lot of the reviewers who would give you, even if it wasn't their type of movie, could give you a relatively honest review. And I'm not seeing that anymore. I'm not seeing those people anymore. I don't see any reviewers. Now everybody's like, well, what did it get on Rotten Tomatoes? Oh, by the way, Critical Role has almost a perfect 100 Rotten Tomatoes score. You should go check it out. It's animated on Prime.
I want to get to this statement here because there's one thing that I disagree with here. There's no amount of editing that can fix changes to source material. None. Like, for example, explain why Marvel would take the construct form of a female. The same thing for the Supreme Intelligence. Now, they kind of explained away Supreme Intelligence a little bit because Supreme Intelligence chose an image that was comfortable for Carol, but they did not explain Marvel being female and why Marvel chose a female form while she was on Earth, if I could put it to you that way.
Now,
that's one of the things that the movie never explained.
Do you know how pissed off I was?
Marvel, the original Marvel was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
the original Marvel is a gold dude.
Not in this movie.
I never watched it, so I didn't get to see, but the original Marvel is a gold dude. Adam is a gold dude.
Monica you're thinking whatchamacallit.
You're thinking of Captain Atom.
Not Captain Atom. She's thinking Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock.
But Captain Marvel did have blonde hair. That's what I'm thinking.
Marvel was what they call. He was a
he was a Kree.
He was a pink Kree, right?
Yeah, pink Kree.
Pink Kree. That's right.
Yeah. Which oddly enough looked like a white dude.
Mm-hmm. But again, in this movie, Marvel was a Caucasian lady. She was the doctor that Carol was working with to perfect this one aircraft.
Okay.
And just like in the comic books, they got attacked. She did something to protect Carol, and Carol's powers awakened. The Kree took her.
Okay.
And when she was with the Kree, she was known as Vars because that was the only thing that remained off of her uniform.
Wasn't it
with VAR?
Whatever they were working on, the plane, it was powered by. It looked like a cosmic cube, but it was supposed to be one of the Infinity Gems, and she gained her powers from it as opposed to.
They shot something through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Dr. Marvel. Well, I forgot what they named her, but it was really Marvel shielded her in such a way where it didn't kill her, but it also affected her and gave her powers.
Yeah, but it was
the Kree saw what happened, and next thing you know, she's gone up.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be one of the gems, though, even though it looked like the cosmic cube, right?
Mm-hmm. It was something weird. It was something that was built in that engine. It was a specialized engine, and it was something that Marvel put in there that was of Kree technology.
But the thing is, they then took two different characters because there was Marvel, from whom Monica got her powers, and then there was Ms. Marvel, who was a pink Kree, because there was, I forget who she was battling. She had a battle with somebody, and she got smacked into a memory of how she was mistreated among the Kree because of having a pink.
But that was after I forgot what issue of Captain Marvel where it was like a villain shot both of them. It's like Marvel was carrying her, and this one villain shot both of them with this one beam. And for the longest, it was like, how did Carol survive this? Because it affected Marvel, but it also affected Carol. And if Carol was a human, and they was up here saying human body for weaker decrease. How
So
did
she
she
should
survive
die.
it? And then the other thing happened where it's like, I forgot what she got hit by, and then her memory started to come back.
And like I said, I remember a book, she was battling someone,
Mhm.
and something in the battle caused the flashback.
Right,
And she
because
was
she
fighting an
was up
instructor.
on like a dual personality for the longest. It's like she would black out. Carol would black out. Next thing you know, it's like
She would be she would be Ms. Margot.
mhm.
But it was like,
Yeah,
it was like dual personalities.
and don't
Whereas,
forget when she had a relationship with a non-consensual relationship with Kang's son.
Oh, gosh. We're not
But yeah,
bringing up.
seriously, do you know how
We're
pissed
not
off I
bringing up
was?
that issue. We're not bringing up the worst issue ever written in
You know
Marvel
how pissed
history.
when I sat
We
through
are
the
not bringing
Captain
up
Marvel movie.
Avengers 200. That is
As
off the
much
table.
as much as I dug the Captain Marvel movie, it had nothing to do with Carol Danvers. It had nothing to do with anything established over all the years of Cosmic Marvel. But as a movie, I was like, all right, I can deal with this. I'm still on the fence about Black Nick Fury just because this led to them saying he'd been living in a basement in 616 for like 30 years. When she met the Supreme Intelligence and he was not a giant green head with tentacles, do you know how pissed off I was?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to see. I want
was
to see
the
that big
giant
floating
green
baby
head
head
with
with the tentacles
But
coming
they
out of it.
explained why you didn't get that giant big head and everything, because it made it easier on Carol to understand what was going on.
No,
If Rick Jones
it
could
made it
understand it, she
easier
could.
on Marvel Studios to shoot the sequence.
It's just like I enjoyed the Supergirl show with Melissa Benoist or whatever her name was,
Mhm.
up until they introduced the Red Tornado and Mon-El. Because it's like they made Mon-El a dude, bro. And Red Tornado looked like an easy bake oven. I'm like, you spent all your budget on one suit and you have nothing left. Just like in the Titan
Well,
show.
you know what happened with the Supergirl show, right?
Well, I know what happened with the Supergirl show. It stayed
What
on too
happened?
long.
No,
And it went to the CW.
almost right.
Okay.
CBS refused to put more money into it. It was a big hit with CBS. It ran
Yeah.
2 seasons at CBS, and CBS was like, "Oh, it's a big hit," and they looked at the showrunners, and the showrunners was like, "We might have to cancel this because we refuse to put more money into it."
Yeah, but look, that they blew their entire costume budget on the Supergirl suit and on Martian Manhunter. And then it's like, oh, we want to introduce Red Tornado. Go next door to Full Moon Features and get the leftover stuff from Ginger Dead Man and put it on him. That's
No.
exactly what happened. Same thing. If you're gonna do
Same
it
thing with
right.
Magan. when we finally got Magan and we finally got Miss Martian, the whole thing with the Kryptonians coming down to Earth for the first time. That is like, oh, so her and Kal-El is not the only Kryptonians that's still around. There's still ones that are still traveling the universe that was not on Krypton, and they finally got to Earth, and it was like, oh, that was a big to do.
They got I literally quit watching the show when they introduced Mon-El and he was a dude,
You
bro.
saw Mr. Click. You
And
saw
they
Mr. Click.
started him and Kara started fooling around, and I'm like, no one is even taking the time to ask when they have the same last name and are sleeping together.
Sorry.
I just love the Mixoplex episode because the Mixoplex was like, oh, that's Mon-El? Okay, fine. I don't care about him. I love you. And you're gonna fall in love with me.
Or the episode, their version of For the Man Who Has Everything, where Kara had the Black Mercy,
Mhm.
was actually a really good episode. But then it was like you had to wade through like 20 episodes of bullshit before you got to another one. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It used to be a weekly thing. We would gather the girls together and sit down and watch Supergirl. But it became a chore. And then it was like, we can't do this anymore. And I hated that. And a lot of it went back to they just ran out of budget for costumes. Just like freaking the Supreme Intelligence. Now we ain't got no budget for a green floating head. Make it a white girl.
This is funny. What's it? See, now you're
I'll
making
be
me
right
think
back.
about
I gotta get a drink.
Zola from the Captain America movies. If you could do Zola on the computer screen as a big head, why can't you do Supreme Intelligence? And you have to think about the source material because you have to have some resemblance to it for it to be a Captain Marvel movie or any type of movie that is based upon a different franchise. There have to be
I think
some grounding basis of source material there. I'm not saying that it has to be 100% like almost if I could say it, Watchmen was almost 100%. I would say Watchmen was like 95%, 100% 95% of the source material. It failed. V for Vendetta was about 65%, and it worked. Captain Marvel could have been 30% source material and worked, but the thing about it was, for one, it would have been better if it was a buddy cop movie between Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson. If they would have just focused in on that and trying to figure out what was going on with why the Kree is trying to invade Earth and all this other stuff, and why Carol had no memories of anything that happened to her after her accident, it would have been a fine movie. It would have been okay.
Well, see, then you also have to look at when you choose the source material to sample for your movie. What is this the tone you want? Like, I haven't seen it yet, but James Gunn pulled the source material for Supergirl out of all the source material you could use of Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow. If I am trying to build from the ground up my own DC comic universe, cinematic universe, and I just had a big hit with Superman, the very next movie that's going to be one of my tent poles for our universe is not going to be a movie based on source material that's the polar opposite of what my tone is. You could have done, I mean, I know it would have been a little bit harder. You could have done the Jeff Loeb, Michael Turner return of Supergirl and Batman Superman, the series, on the big screen, and it would have been a good movie. It would have been harder because you got so much other stuff you have to introduce. But the tonally wise, it's the same tone as you had with Superman. Anything Tom King writes is going to be sad ass and muddled and high-minded bullshit. You don't want that to be the next movie in your series. You want that to be the 10th movie in your series. So I feel bad for the people involved. I think the movie's the idea that a good 2-hour popcorn flick is an insult to a movie nowadays, I think says more about the movie industry than it does about the movie itself.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, as I was just discussing with Courtney, we're gonna wait for it to come on a streaming service, and
I agree.
Get our snacks and
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, Jude Law should have been Marvel. I would have loved to have seen Jude Law as Marvel.
I mean, that ending scene where he crashed on Earth again and was like trying to bait her into a fist fight because she's never beating, and she just blasts him through the rock and says, "I don't have to listen to you or play your games anymore." That was probably the best ending I've ever seen to a superhero fight because it's like, yeah, I mean,
oh, sweetie, I ain't got to touch you to kill you. Zap.
I mean, if I'm Superman, I'm not fighting the robots that the Toyman sends. I'm tossing him in the air and catching him later on. So I like that part of the movie. I don't know. I think that one was how do you explain Carol Danvers in the Marvel universe after all these years of everything else? And then you're trying to shoehorn it in there from the 90s. And out of all the characters, you pick Carol, who came from Captain Marvel, who had been an established Avenger, who then became like the stand-in for Phoenix and the X-Men for a little while, when whatever the binary thing was that I was reading X-Men and I still didn't really understand. And then she was a drunk. And then she got in that relationship. The rogue thing happened. She was in a relationship with Kang's son. she was pissed at everybody. Then she came back and was Warbird and didn't have her powers, and then she had her powers, and now she don't have her powers, and then all of a sudden she became Captain Marvel. And we forgot about Monica Rambeau, who I think she was at the time she was Spectrum anyway, so it didn't matter. And 1 minute she's the most powerful thing on earth, the next minute Captain America is dog walking her. It's like,
Yeah, Captain America's
there
dog
was
walking her because why she couldn't get with the program that caught that she was the reason why everything happened in Civil War II. She went
yeah.
too
So
far. She went too far and tried to protect the Earth in Civil War II, which made no sense.
I think Carol Danvers is an example of a character you have to reach way too far for to fit in a movie universe. A movie universe that you're trying to keep cohesive and only happened in X, Y, and Z timeline.
Like I said, I would have preferred if they had to introduce that character. I would have preferred Monica Rambeau's Captain Marvel. But
Well,
that's just me. Okay.
yeah, but
I'm
I can
just
understand
saying.
why they didn't, because you have to remember Monica came out strong as Captain Marvel and was leading the Avengers and kicking everybody's ass and teaming up with
Well,
Spider-Man and teaming
actually,
with Wolverine.
but in the beginning, she was, because I'm going from way back when she first came into the Avengers. She didn't know the extent of her powers.
That's true.
And they were having to study her, and the Wasp, of all people, was trying to help because she didn't know all her powers. She was a little like, I'm not sure if I should be here. And it was the Wasp that was always like, girl, you got this. You're going to do this. We're going to be us.
Well,
we can whoop ass. And so she grew into that leadership position, but she didn't just come in and go, yeah, I'm going to lead
I'm talking about the standpoint of her introduction and how Marvel was behind her. The push.
Okay.
Not all that. And they pushed her, and she was in secret. Yes.
Okay.
She was in Secret Wars and all of this. And then it's like they got bored with her. And by the time the 80s were over, she wasn't even a C-list character. She was like a D-list character. And by the time you got to the 90s and the 2000s, she's on these off-brand superhero teams no one's ever heard of. They made 2 issues of them, and they never showed them again. And she's floating around, and she was Captain Marvel, then she was Spectrum, then she was Photon, then she was Illuminate something. I can understand why they didn't use Monica, because she was damaged goods by the time the Marvel Cinematic Universe came around.
Okay. See, I didn't follow all of that. I'm just thinking back in the early days when I was reading the book and they had introduced her, and I had really loved her because.
And yeah, but then you got to remember Carol Danvers. Carol wasn't around then.
No, Carol wasn't around because this was at the time where this was following the situation between Ms. Marvel's fight with Rogue. And Rogue was now with the X-Men trying to figure out which end of her head was up. So yeah, Carol was out of the picture at that time. But I'm just saying, if they were going to introduce a Marvel character into the Avengers, I think Monica would have been she would have been the better introduction. I just like I said, I remember her early days with the group, and they were testing her powers and the limits of her powers, because they did not know. She didn't know everything she could do. They didn't know. And Hank and Wasp were trying to figure out, what's a way to test and see what you can do and how well you can do it without causing any harm or blowing up the planet. So I kind of enjoyed that. It was an exploration, and she grew into this position. She didn't just join them and like, yeah, we're gonna make you the leader. It didn't. Yeah, it didn't go down that way.
I'm inside the story. There was a lot more to it. I was hitting the high points. I'm talking about from the standpoint of Marvel pushing her.
And
The way they
this is
Stereo.
this is also, this is because at the time when she was introduced, it was because they were facing from groups like the NAACP and whatnot. They were facing people who were yelling at them that you don't have enough Black representation. And women's groups are going, well, you don't have enough women representation. And, then it was like, you don't have enough Black women representation. Marvel's like, damn. Hi, Kat.
eight. Yeah, and there's also the timing of when Monica became the new Captain Marvel was right around the time DC was getting ready to bring out another Billy Batson comic. So a lot of that was just dirty business dealings back and forth.
It was dirty businessing, but like I said, I liked her. I thought she was an interesting character. She was fun. She was different. What I liked about her, it was something that I liked about Storm. They weren't trying to act like they were trying to do like a blaxploitation. They weren't heroines out of a blaxploitation film. They were smart, capable women. They didn't it's hard to explain. If you haven't
military woman. She's a military woman.
She's a military woman.
Now,
educated, capable.
She's the captain of the Coast Guard.
She could hold her own, not just with power, but also she was as smart and as capable as all the people around her, male or female. Luke Cage was more of a, he was more of a jive talking, half the time you'd be reading Luke Cage and go, okay, he's going to say jive turkey any minute. Now I know it. Now I'm going to have to put
all you Misty Knight fans out there, direct your hate mail towards Missy Lane. I said nothing.
Cliff, I will find where you live.
But again, Misty Knight is it's cut from a different cloth.
And I didn't.
Misty Knight originally was a police officer.
Yes.
She was a 100% stereotypical blaxploitation character.
I actually didn't read any Misty Knight books. I actually didn't get to read any Misty Knight books.
You didn't miss anything in the very beginning.
No. Of course, now I noticed now that the Daughters of the Dragons are like bumbling detectives or something.
They're making the people who are writing them now.
They talk like they're 12-year-olds, and I was just like, this is so wrong. Misty Knight used to be hooking up with Iron Fist. This is so bad.
Wait a minute.
No. It's worse than that. Because again, Misty Knight was a capable detective who the New York Police Department kept her on like the regular beat as just like a regular beat officer. It got to the point where she left NYPD and tried to reach out onto her own as a detective. And as a detective, she loses her arm. She gets her bionic arm and everything. And that's where everything flows to her. Now, throughout her encounters, because again, she was originally nothing more than a supporting character in Spider-Man.
She would occasionally end up running up against Peter because he'd be doing something in which she was on a case or something like that. And she'd be called out.
She was like one of the beat officers that would probably be there when Spider-Man was like wrapping something up or he was investigating something and she happens to see it's like, oh, Spider-Man did not do this, and she, he kind of gave her like the clue of what was going on.
Okay. Like I said, hers was not a character I was really familiar with. And at that time, because I have always been existing, especially in regards to my comic books on limited funds, it was like, okay, stick with the books you love that are also easy for you to get. So it was a lot easier at one time to get, especially since when I was very young, I had to go downtown. If I would either get the books the toss away books that they would sell in a package, a 3-pack at the store, and they weren't supposed to sell them. They would cut out so many pages, and then you'd have to take the pages back together so you could read them properly. I was either getting those, and then as I got older and got babysitting money and whatnot, I would go downtown where I had my counseling sessions. And there is a little tobacco, the Monadnock building, Joe, you know, the Monadnock building on Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have a tobacco shop, and outside the tobacco shop was a newsstand. And I used to get comics occasionally from that newsstand.
Right.
And every once in a while, when I had the money, because I'd done a lot of babysitting, I would treat myself to a burger at the Dill Pickle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they had two Dill Pickles. There was the one in Old Town, and then there was the one on Van Buren. And I would go to the Dill Pickle, occasionally go to the Dill Pickle and grab a burger to go and munching on the bus. Sit in the back of the bus with everybody paying attention.
Yep, but
they were good burgers.
Those characters that I know, I know those characters that I researched them. I actually, like I said, this is one of several copies of her joining the Avengers, or at least her first appearance in Avengers. This is the
That's
issue
the
that you were
one.
talking about. This is the one that you were talking about.
Because they have, she zips through. What is it? There were
The Avengers Gym, but she
no.
did not
There's
do
one.
the Avengers Gym.
She zaps through. It's like she zaps around the planet through these receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to because she changed. I forgot what type of energy she changed into, but she started.
No, she's not microwave. She's a combination of
one
light,
of them is
light energy.
She did microwave. No, she did microwave because that's how she bounced through these receivers as a microwave.
She had
something like that.
Could go through the entire spectrum of light waves or something, because she absorbed in Daily Avengers, she absorbed Kyle's Green Lantern energy.
But that's how she faced off against Dracula, because everybody, you know, everybody's going up against Dracula. It's like Fang Daddy, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you don't like sun rays, right?" You know?
Creative takeover. We're talking about 1987 because we're all old.
Well,
actually, it's 1982.
Yeah,
the book was from 1982, but we're talking about Monica Rambeau because we were talking about the problem with the Supergirl movies and how people are looking at certain movies, and we got to talking about Captain Marvel, and we got sidetracked with the whole thing about which one would have been better to bring out first. Would it have been Carol or would it have been Monica? Yeah. So that's why we're talking about 1982.
Well, to bring it a little bit
takeover. Really quick,
to bring it a little more modern for folks, for any of you out there who are trying to make a little bit extra money real quick because gas is $10,000 a gallon and it's 100 degrees outside, they announced Absolute Batman as an animated series coming up soon.
Ooh.
Absolute Batman comics now on eBay. People are fighting over them for money. I have a variant cover of #1 that people are fighting over at $400 right now.
Ooh.
So if you have any
my speculation rants, oh my goodness!
If you've got the Absolute Batman,
and you're like me, fooling their money or soon pardon. You know,
I don't have any Absolute Batman.
My light bill is $700 because our air conditioner can't keep up with how hot it is.
Oh, that's good for you, though. I'm not saying it's bad for you. It's like it's good for you, but I'm just saying.
All they want. Our asphalt on our street that they just laid is melting. So bring me whatever you speculate all you want, people.
I'm so sorry, sweetie. That's what you're. Oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But that
I know what I was talking about with what I was emailing you about was a bill that got paid a long time ago that they tried to take out of my account again.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, the light bill always at this time of year is around somewhere between $500 and $800 a month because of the air conditioner.
Damn.
Yeah, well,
okay. Well, talking about money and kids, I want to leave this out of that and into this. For those of you who, whether you are homeschooling or you have a kid who's going to be going off to school, for the first time, or you've got older kids, teenagers and whatnot, and you're looking, and they have a bent to art, and you're looking for a way to help them, help encourage their interest in art while not costing you a ton of money, go to Family Dollar. Courtney and I went to Family Dollar today. They had a setup that was total Crayola, from drawing pads to colored pencils to washable markers to their regular watercolor markers. They had it all. And you're going to spend less at Family Dollar than you will at Target
or Walgreens or
Walmart or Walgreens, and they have it. So if you have a child, or even if because even if you are somebody who just likes adult coloring books and whatnot, but you don't want to have to spend all that money on Paul Rubens art supplies that cost you $300 for a set of markers, or Hoo or Arctics, because you're just curious, but you don't want to be that committed, find a Family Dollar. They have all, if my little ghetto Family Dollar had all that Crayola stuff, and we came in and it was all there in front of us. It's like, dang, I just want to walk home with it. Nope, I gotta get, I've got stuff I have to get, and I can't get that. But you're gonna find it at good prices. In fact, and I've said it before, if you're looking, even if you just want to get into crafting, Family Dollar is really getting the hookup these days with craft supplies and art supplies. Dollar Tree, hello. Are they perfect supplies? No. But Dollar Tree, they actually sell little canvases. Not big ones, but they sell little canvases. If you just want to learn basic painting, you just want to get into some basic painting. Ooh, the light came on. There's a light. You just want to learn some basic painting, or you want to dabble in some crafts and stuff. Don't go to Michael's. Go there. It's cheaper. Their acrylics that you use for crafting is just as good, and it'll cost you less, especially if you're just learning it. Okay, because I will tell you, nobody becomes an expert on their first try. Yeah, there are people out there, because what you don't see are the drawings that didn't work. You don't see the paintings that they chose the wrong color and had to paint all and had to start all over again because they realized it was the wrong color values or whatnot. So that's the stuff you don't see. And that happens a lot.
Tell them the secret. Tell them the secret, Lane. Tell them the secret.
The secret?
Yeah. Even the masters painted over their original art.
Oh my goodness. People are finding Picassos and Rembrandts and whatnot, because they now have the technology, they're looking at these paintings and finding out there are whole other paintings underneath them, because if they painted a painting that didn't work, because people think these guys weren't rich, especially then. You had to learn how to pick your own fabric, and then you had to stretch it out, build a frame, and find your own pigments, grind them, add it to that stuff. And that stuff was poisonous. Why do you think so many of them guys went crazy? That crap was poisonous. Okay. And you had to mix it all yourself. And if you made a mistake, you just painted over it with titanium white, which would make you a little and start it all over again, because a mistake wasn't something you could throw away. A mistake was something you painted over. Because when you had, those big canvases, if you put the canvas alone that size in today's dollars, that's a couple of $100 right there before you've even painted something. That's a couple $100. It ain't cheap. So I'm always trying to let people know, if you're just starting, you have an interest, you've got a kid who has an interest, and you're freaking out, I don't know what to do. Take your ass to Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General even. They've got art supplies. They've got craft supplies. Are they going to create masterpieces? No. He's like, what, 7 years old? If he creates a masterpiece at 7, shoot. I want to know. I want to learn from this kid. But it's a place to get started. And then as they get better, and always ask the kid, if you're buying something for someone else, ask that child, ask that teacher. Don't get up and decide you know better, because you don't. Listen to your auntie me. Ask the child, what do you use at school? Ask the teacher, what mediums are they using? And a medium, that's just, when we say what medium, that's colored pencils, that's graphite. And graphite is just a black pencil, okay? Mark Crilley can do things with a number 2 Dixon Ticonderoga that would just make you go down. Okay, so you don't need expensive things. Now, if you're gonna sell them, yeah, you're gonna need the better stuff, because people ain't gonna pay you for something that's gonna fade in a year.
Yeah,
but it's a place to start, and that's part of me. I want to help people get started.
Also, if you are, even if you're a homeschool parent, or you have kids that go to school and they need a little bit of extra help, the Dollar Tree, dollar stores, and I don't know if you'll have them up there, but we have something called Ollie's.
We don't have Ollie's here, not in the city.
Ollie's? That's a myth. It basically, in the city of Chicago, it's a myth. You have to go into like deep suburbs or across the border to Indiana.
Well, you got to
I do know about Ollie's, but it's a myth.
It's a myth. Chatham or something like that to get to an Ollie's.
Well, if you cross the Yellow Brick Road and can find one, Ollie's and dollar stores have really, really good workbooks, like math workbooks, reading, what do they call it now? Language arts books that you would find in a Knowledge Tree if you went to one of those, which is a school store, or you went to Target when they have them. But they're a lot cheaper, and it's just good repetition for your student to do. So don't look down on them just because it's not a brand name store. And also, since you guys don't have them up there, Ollie's also sells comics, and they have no idea what they have most of the time. They were selling the DC Archive editions, for those of you who remember those hardback books, for $7 a piece.
You trying to choke a sister up in here.
They were. It was a big deal. They ended up selling out of them because the collectors found out about it and bought them all out. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
He took people up with batteries. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, but Dollar Tree, especially if you're homeschooling or you want to help your kid do a little extra work, Dollar Tree has those books. They have beginning math, beginning reading, and they have the whole setup. You wanna set up a set. Dollar Tree has got pegboards. They're small, but you get enough of them at $1.50 each. You can set up a nice pegboard. I've actually, I'm thinking of putting one over here to put some supplies on.
Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Those. They were selling them for $7 a piece.
But yeah.
If I would have known that, I would have saved some money.
Also,
because I got all 7 volumes. I got all 7 volumes of Wonder Woman.
Holy shoo-shaboo.
I got all 7, and it's like I got a double.
And you got them at your house, and I know where you live. You're not gonna get out there before I can get to you. Y'all forget I said that, okay?
So that's okay. She could probably find where I'm at, but as long as she doesn't bring the stabby, we all okay. If she brings the stabby, I'm going to be like 911. There's a crazy lady at my house talking about give me my comic books. I have no idea.
Oh, and I'm going into my best 65-year-old woman.
but saying all that to say, yeah, there's a lot of gold that's still out there that could be picked up for real cheap here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sorry.
And that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I try to get people to realize. It's like collecting is a art. It's not just if you had a discretion, if I could say the discretionable money and you don't have anything to worry about, yeah, it's easy. But when you don't, it becomes an art.
See, I will bring John or Courtney with me and be the disgruntled baby mom. I can't stand John. I can't even hold the you don't understand. He cheated me. I'll turn into a crazy old lady in a second. By the time I'm done, they'll be breaking down your door and putting you in cuffs. I will have told them. I'll bring John with me. Mama, give me money for the child in 30 years. Say hi, John.
But I can still walk with my purse like honest.
And I got big purses, Joe.
Knowing you have those type of purses, and then it takes nothing for you to swing a brick in a purse. Like,
and I got bricks. I got bricks, y'all. Keep them by the front door. It's like, yeah, come up, call yourself, don't come up in my house. I got something for you. As the old ladies used to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I got something for you. I got bricks, I got swords. We can have a whole party. And when the cops show up,
what do you got? What do you got in that purse? What do you got in that purse, Bill? I got the good book in that. I want the good book. It's like, what do you mean the good book? It's nothing but a Bible up in there.
I got a King James. He jumped me. I had to bring out my Bible, and I had to tell him, get back.
It's like I have to make him aware of Isaiah 24:14.
It's sometimes, Mr. Say you don't want to get behind you easily, so you got to take a brick and see how well you can make them swallow it. They're not gonna touch me. They'll give me a medal.
I can see an officer is like opening up the person. There it is, the old Gutenberg Bible. It's like
German.
This thing is heavy. And it's like, see, I told you, I hit him with the good word.
Is it a thing up there like it is in the South where you have the quote unquote family Bible that makes its way through the generations?
Yes,
weighs like 800 pounds.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we used to have a big blue one.
We still have those traditions.
Okay.
We used to have a big blue one.
When my mom passed away, because she was born in 1942, she apparently had everybody in the community's family Bible because we found like 2 boxes of them.
She was stealing the family Bible.
I'm like, why do we have this many Bibles? And then I realized, oh, her sister has just as many. I was like, so it's a thing that they did. So
yeah, originally they were passed down, and at the front of these Bibles there was
dedication pages.
Yeah, and you would list everybody who was born, who did they marry, did they have children, and then when they died. And so at one point it was, and some families, you'd have thought they were biblical scholars, because also the Bible was where you kept your paperwork, marriage certificates, birth and death certificates. A Bible would be full of that information because you would stick them in find your favorite Bible verse and take old Uncle, Uncle Wilhelm's birth certificate and his papers from the military and stick them there. Have that part about Jezebel. Where's that stuff on Cousin Cora? You know who we talking about. Yeah, we gonna stick that stuff right here with Jezebel. So people would actually do it according to certain passages.
One of the family Bibles that was in there had a lock of hair from some cousin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God, this is 97 years old. It's dust. Why do we still have this?
No. That is, museums are there are depending on you should look through those, because you never know, you might find out some information on your family that you didn't know existed that a museum would be nuts for.
My family's so weird. I'm afraid of what all I find out. I'm like, I don't.
My mother had one when I was a little girl, when she was pregnant with my sister. She showed me where, hers, and then her, the whole thing about her and my dad getting married, and then my birth. And she said, yeah, that's this. And then my brother Edward, who was stillborn, she had him listed. And then the next page was for my sister. I never got that Bible, so I don't know what happened to it. But mostly everybody I knew, whether they were Catholic or Baptist or whatever, they had some version of that in their Bibles. And like I said, and if you ran out of those dedication pages, you would get that paperwork and stick it in. And some people would just stick it in the front or all in the back. And then some would take, if a certain passage reminded you of Cousin Ezra, you would stick Cousin Ezra's information there. So, people would use stuff as bookmarks for certain things and stuff. Yeah, those were quite and it was for families, especially when access to things like nowadays, you can get online and contact the state and county where you were born. You pay them so much money, you send them the basic information, they'll send you a copy of your birth certificate. Back then, you had maybe 2 copies, one for the records of where you were, and then one they might give you yourself. And back then, it used to be they would footprint babies. Yeah. So you'd have a birth certificate, and they would take the baby's foot and put it on a birth certificate. So, and I was wondering why, if he runs away, you're gonna look for him, and yep, this is that baby. We found him. All 3 of
my girls still have footprints on theirs.
They didn't. When I had my boys, they didn't do that in California, but so. They were a way to keep hold of family records and family history, especially for people who they themselves are not great writers of stuff, or they didn't read very well. So it was a way to make sure that you had all that stuff. Right. So yeah, those things were very important. Even I knew people who weren't particularly Christian who had family Bibles that, whether you were Christian or not, everybody had, the only people who didn't have you were like Jewish or something like that. But even in those traditions, they had something similar where they kept all that information together. So that's a little bit of history from your Auntie May.
That's your bit of American culture for people.
Now, here's some obscure culture for you, and also proof of how weird my family is. When my mom passed away, found one of my old baby books.
Aww.
And I don't know why, Joe, you'll appreciate this. Right. I grew up down here in the Memphis area, so that means for you wrestling fans, I grew up in the Memphis territory.
Mm-hmm.
And a family friend was what we call an enhancement talent on the Memphis television show, which meant
Oh,
he,
okay.
which meant he was a jobber.
Right.
He lost to everybody, but he was also the Memphis wrestling hairstylist. He did all the
Oh,
wrestlers'
okay.
hair,
He was the
and
barber.
for some damn reason,
Did he ever work on Gorgeous George?
he's not that old.
Oh, okay.
Now I think he worked on Gorgeous George 3, but that's not the same thing. But for some damn reason, my mom had a lock of Dusty Rhodes' hair
Wait,
in my baby book.
wait, Gorgeous George 3 was a woman.
Two that I'm 3 was a woman.
Yeah, the third Gorgeous George was a woman because
Yeah,
Oh,
Randy
wow.
Savage's lady.
because she was the valet to Randy Savage. Yeah.
Gorgeous George was supposed to be his brother Lanny Poffo. That's what he bought it for, but then he gave it to his girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for some reason I have a lock of Dusty Rhodes' hair in my baby book. I'm just like, okay.
The American
Maybe
Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Maybe she was a little sweet on it, and
Yes.
maybe she was a little sweet on him, but at the same time, she didn't want your daddy finding that out that she was too sweet. So she put it where she figured your daddy wasn't necessarily going to look.
Oh. Well, some more useless wrestling trivia. Talking about great masters painting over all their artworks. Back in the day of what we call studio wrestling, which every major city in America had their own territory of studio wrestling.
Yeah.
And you have all these thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of matches with people who became like great superstars like young Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and all this. The studio wrestling did not know that these tapes
Terry
would
Boulder.
be worth anything. So they recorded the next week's show or the last week's show every month.
Your sound just went out.
Yeah, so every week, so like here in the Memphis territory, from 1960 something all the way up into like 85, they just recorded over every week's show with the next week.
Oh my goodness!
But that was standard TV practices back then.
That was standard
That's true.
TV practice.
Unless you were on a national show, and they would archive them because they were going to do reruns. And something like a wrestling show was supposed to be live entertainment. You didn't need to keep, I think ABC's
game shows were not kept that way either. It wasn't until what I want to say almost like the 80s when they started.
No, because what is it? Groucho had You Bet Your Life. And Channel 32 used to do rerun. They got the syndication for You Bet Your Life episodes. And that's how I know that
not
show.
Every You Bet Your Life episode was recorded.
Probably not every episode, but a lot of those old some of those old shows, they actually they had enough to get at least a couple of seasons, because I remember watching You Bet Your Life on Channel 32 with Groucho Marx. And the old Art Linkletter,
was it Texaco or was it AC Delco? It was one of them. It was either Texaco or AC Delco that brought
Texaco. Because Texaco also had Texaco Theater,
right, with Milton Berle.
With Milton Berle, and I think Texaco had I think Texaco was before AC Delco got into the game. Texaco was already making a name for themselves as sponsoring those shows. So I think if they were sponsored, they were probably Texaco sponsored.
Because if it wasn't Texaco, I can't remember the automobile maker that was also sponsoring You Bet Your Life.
Yeah. For those of you who are unaware, back in the day, up to the mid 60s, perhaps, a show would be you would have different commercials running through a show, but a show had one main sponsor, and that sponsor's commercial were specific for that show. So a lot of those old shows, whether it was old Lucy shows, whether it was Lucy, You Bet Your Life, the old Dinah show Donna Shore shows, all those old shows had one main sponsor. And because even if you ever saw the old Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, actually was sponsored by, among all people, Alpo.
Mm-hmm.
Alpo put a lot of money into the Johnny Carlson show, and they would have a break where Ed McMahon would do an Alpo commercial.
Exactly. The original Flintstones was sponsored by Winston cigarettes.
Yep. So you would have shows that were mainly sponsored by a specific company, and then additional commercials were used by the people who would then put it on the smaller channels to keep them afloat, because they would have to pay for that syndication. So they, when they syndicated, they started adding other sponsors, because those shows, especially if you got something that was intact, because like you said, I'm sorry, I was just trying to put forth some information that folks this day don't always have. Excuse the hell out of me.
No, you were okay. It's just funny that you made mention that you are cultured.
Yes.
But it's like when you think about all of the older shows here, like everybody talks about, You Bet Your Life, but people don't remember the other Groucho Marx game show that did a couple of pilots called What Do You Want?
I never saw that one. I only ever saw You Bet Your Life.
You can see it on YouTube, but those shows were pretty much like back in the day. There was like exploitive type game shows back in the day here, where people would come in and be like, hey, I need like $3,000 to do X, Y, and Z and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And either they have to answer trivia questions and they give them money.
Yeah.
Those type of things. I think one was called Strike It Rich.
Yeah.
And they really was like, people would come on with these big old sob stories and everything. But those were like the game shows back in the days, when game shows had real big problems back in the Dumont network and everything, before the federal government got involved with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to say some of those shows eventually got shut down because they were also getting very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You would get these people who were desperate, and it was like, well, what would you do for this much money? And then they would do things, and it would start easy enough. At each level you completed, you got so much of the money, but the levels got consistently harder and more dangerous, and people started to get injured. I don't know if any deaths resulted, but I know there were some injuries that were serious.
If it wasn't that, then the sponsors were putting big pressure on the showrunners, because they want certain people to win, because they wanted those people to represent their product as much as possible. That was the whole thing about what it is called, 21 was an example of that. If those who watched the movie The Game Show got a wind of what actually went down, because there's like other shows that was like 21. People keep forgetting the reason why the $64,000 question went away. They were also doing the exact same thing, because their sponsor wanted certain people to win, and certain people win, more people will watch the show, and more people who watch the show will buy their products.
In other words, this guy should win because he's smart enough, but the audience likes this guy. Yep. So we're going to.
Reason I brought up $64,000 question because because Dr. Joyce Brothers kind of proved that that actually was happening during the time that she was on the show, and when she won her $64,000 in the category of boxing. I mean, it was a lot of shows like that. It was like there was a children's version of something like that called Giant Step that was caught up in that, and they wanted certain kids to win over others.
Yeah,
see, that's just a prejudice towards us uggos. I'm not a fan of that.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
No, Giant Step was like, it was a trivia game show where they had like all of these elementary school kids. And it's like they was working, they was earning money towards their education back in like the 1950s. It was akin to their sister show, or the show that it spawned from was called The Big Question.
Mm.
I've seen some episodes of The Big Question. I think a few of those survived. But yeah, game shows back then were very interesting to say the least.
Dumont Network game shows were very interesting.
But
Their version of Finders Keepers was like, oh wow, they actually did this on live television.
Yeah, there were some things that, you know, people talk about language, but you know, there was sexual innuendo, and it, but that's also one of the reasons why, you know, they started developing these codes for what could what couldn't be shown on network television, as well as what couldn't be said, because television, especially back in the old days, it was kind of Wild West, and how clean what you did was based not so much on censors, but whoever was running the show, or whoever your lead was in that show, set the tone for it. So you would have some shows that were very racy, that you couldn't show. Say when I was a kid, you couldn't show. There's a reason why the Playboy Penthouse party shows had to be shown on WLS, even though you didn't have any nudity, you didn't have a lot of cussing on it, and it was late night, and nobody was undressed, and nothing uncovered. You still couldn't, because it was supposed to be it was the penthouse party at the Playboy Club. And just because it was that, you couldn't show it on like ABC, CBS, or NBC. So you would have to see it on a local network like 32, because just because it was the Playboy was enough to go, oh, okay, no. Okay, no, we're not going to do that. But yeah, it was kind of the Wild West. And even, you know, like I said, when we were talking about cartoons back then, a lot of that stuff wasn't meant for kids. You know, they some things they cleaned up, but and there are some versions of the old Bugs Bunnies I realize I've seen today and go, wait a minute, they had to re-edit that, because I remember that coming out when I was X years old, and for years they ran it this way. And then they changed it because censorship happened. But those were never meant, they were the way they were because they weren't meant for kids. They were just things they created to run in between, you know,
well,
to run
they weren't meant for kids, movies. And then they were meant for movies. They were shown at movie theaters.
They were shown at movie theaters, but Warner Brothers and whatnot realized, you know, when they were looking for kids, these were cartoons. And if they edited them just a little bit for language, you know, and left in, and they would, because the early versions of those old Bugs Bunnies and whatnot were full of dove tonsils. You know, they were full of innuendo.
I was about to make a Don Pardo joke. After that, well, but I'm going to leave it alone. It's like, yeah, his name was Don Pardo. He was the so-called announcer on the original Price is Right with Bill Cullen. This is Don Pardo speaking.
Laugh-In used to, Gary Owens, who did the announcing stuff on Laugh-In, was kind of a satire of Don Pardo. If you ever saw Laugh-In with Gary Owens there with the doing the announcing, that was actually supposed to be a take on
Don Pardo.
So
just like
Laugh-In is from way back in the day, Cliff. You're looking like,
no, I think he was around. That was 60s. Laugh-In was 60s.
In the 60s. I was born in 78.
You wasn't born in the 60s. I was born in 61.
No, but he would
I
have
have
remembered it. He would have remembered it because it would have been that far away. Because I was in '75 and I remember laughing.
I remember laughing, but I wasn't around in the '60s. I mean, I remember there
That's
were a
when it
couple of those older shows.
they originally aired in the 60s. We used to watch them on, on NBC. And I love
I
laughing.
mean,
In fact, I
I know
got
what
them.
I
I
know
found
what
them on
hee haw
Prime.
is. So
Well, hell, I don't, sweetie, there's a child born in the ghetto prior to 1995 who doesn't know what hee haw is. Okay.
you were watching hee haw when Minnie Pearl didn't have wrinkles. So
Yeah,
That's because
Minnie
CBS used
Pearl
to
was
run
originally a part of what Hollywood
Grand
Squares
Ole
back in the day.
before she was on Hollywood Squares,
Uh-huh.
because she was one of those few entertainers from the Grand Ole Opry.
Mhm.
Who, CBS used to run the Grand Ole Opry specials once or twice a year, and they always featured Minnie Pearl. So, and she got enough national attention where then she graduated to Hollywood Squares. But when she first started, she was just a regional performer at the Grand Ole Opry, and then she became a regular at the Opry. And then when they started doing the Grand Ole Opry country, whatever specials they would do, like a Christmas special or an Easter special, they would always feature Minnie Pearl because she'd come out with her hat and with the
With
price
the
tag.
tag. Yeah.
I'm
we
that
have to
old.
take
Yeah, come at
Yeah,
me.
that's how I remember Roy Clark before
mm,
Hee Haw, because he used to frequent Hollywood
mm.
Squares.
we
And he and Buck Owens
Going. Mhm.
were two, before they were I'm a picking and I'm a grinning, they made their name on those specials. And that's how, they got known to a national audience. They went, all of those guys, they went from regional. If you got good enough at Grand Ole Opry, they would feature you on one of the specials.
Mhm.
And if you did well enough in the special, you would find yourself spreading out to other shows.
we we have to take regular trips to Nashville, Tennessee from here for my post COVID clinic, and the trip from the Memphis area to Nashville is measured in years because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just there's nothing to look at and it's just straight boring flat land. But one trip there was a construction or something and it took us a different way than we'd ever gone before, and we went into parts of Tennessee that I didn't even know existed. And
Thanks.
they had up on a hill in amongst some pine trees a bust of Minnie Pearl that literally was about 15 feet tall. And the damn thing still had the price tag on her hat.
Because that's what she was known for.
And we laughed.
Also,
And then
Tennessee.
we realized, holy shit, where are we if they have that just out in the woods?
Also, Tennessee. There are a couple of great old craft studios out there, especially as you get up in the hills. There are some great craft studios out there. And they're teaching everything from glass blowing to metalworking to there's a couple that they do what is it? Quilting. There's a couple of quilting
Oh yeah,
stuff out there.
all kidding aside, throughout the southern region of the US, there is a lot of art and culture things that people just don't think of for the South. And if
Mhm.
you take a road trip through there, you'll find a lot of. The
If
problem
you
is
want
you also find a bunch of weird shit, like you get lost and you find the historical Civil War pet cemetery.
oh, okay.
So
In regards to the crafting stuff, check out PBS's Craft in America, which you can find episodes of here on YouTube. They have their own channel now. PBS has its own YouTube channel. They have featured just about every Craft in America episode they've ever shot, and they also, if you start watching them, they'll start sending you little shorts and stuff into your space, because whether you ask for it or not. And I know this because John and I used to watch Craft in America, and I was so happy when I found them on YouTube because I'm weird that way.
Yep. And we got
And
about
it's
30
8:31.
minutes. We got about 30 minutes here. So we got books that we got to talk about.
Y'all do your books. I gotta find something I can use as a fan. I'm
Uh-oh.
about to overheat.
She's having those spells.
Uh, um, um, I was having. Woo, yes. Okay. Woo! Don't let me get the Holy Ghost.
You knew exactly what I was thinking. That's what made it so messed up. You knew exactly what I was thinking here.
Uh-huh. I
So
don't know. I have a fan. I just don't know where it is. Courtney, have you seen my fan?
So you want to go first, Cliff, or should I go first?
I have a fan. It's like this shape with a handle.
Um, you go ahead because you piqued my interest with the way you talked about you're going to go off. So I want to hear this.
Okay. So for those who have been here, I talked about this last week. I was in the middle of reading this book called Daddy's Little Girl. And I said that, it's not the very recent book here. I mean, it's from what? It's from 2011. So I know that you can still get the trade paperback of this here, like I have here. It's by Arcana. So if you're looking for it at a local comic book store, just ask for Daddy's Little Girl from Arcana, and should be able to find it here. And I'm up here thinking that it's like, okay, might be a actual interesting book here. Some people, were saying, it's a pretty decent story. So I was like, okay, let me give it a try. I can't complain about it because I only got it for like what, $3.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, it's like this is like a $14 book. The price tag usually is $14, but I got it for like $3.
Nice.
So I'm up here thinking, that this is going to be kind of like in the genre that I normally read and everything. So it turns out I started reading it and everything, and it's like it starts out with just saying "Welcome to Atlantic City." So okay, I was like, okay, fine, we're going to be talking about New
Joe,
Jersey.
who did the cover? Who did the cover art on it?
Who did this cover art? I don't know. It does not say.
It looks like Pamela Anderson on there.
Yeah, it does. That character's name is Bryn, by the way.
Okay, I'm just saying those boobies are so Miss Anderson.
Mm-hmm. So
it's very 90s centric looking.
Put it this way, when I started off, I was like, I had high hopes for it, and then it just fell off the table here. So we get the whole Welcome to Atlantic City here, and then we get this one guy who's up here is like, hey, I'm looking for, he's going around and everything. He's looking for this guy by the name of Mung, and we get to find out who Mung is a little bit later. So out of nowhere, he's at the docks, looking around, looking for his guy, and then he gets snatched up. So we don't know what snatched him up. So now it fast forward to someplace in Pennsylvania, and it was like, oh, by the way, here you got this letter, this, that, and the other. It's like, here's your letter, blah, 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 blah. It's like an invitation, this, that, and the other, and it's from Bryn's father. Now, I'm not going to go into the story just as of yet about the whole thing about the father and everything. And then here she is asking what we thought was her father. Hey, I need to go to Atlantic City. I need to find out what's going on. I got this weird, mysterious letter, yada, yada, yada. So she goes to Atlantic City and everything. She goes to this one funeral home location. They give her some more information about what was left for her. So she goes to this funeral home, and they had a funeral for what would have been her biological father. And there she comes up and meets a guy named Mung. Now, Mung, I actually like his character. I like his character. He comes off like a cross between, if I could say it in a way, comes off like a cross like, what if Jack Kirby was actually a cross between Wolverine and Oberon? So that's the way that he kind of looks to me and comes off. So pretty much, nobody was at her father's funeral other than the mayor of New Jersey.
Is that
Or
Wilson
mayor of
Fisk?
Atlantic City, New Jersey, I should say. The mayor of
Is
Atlantic
that
City.
Wilson Fisk in the background at the bottom?
Hmm?
Is that
Well,
Wilson Fisk in the background at the bottom?
No. That's
Oh,
that's Baron Nash, the mayor of Atlantic City, New Jersey.
close enough.
okay. I was
Oh,
thinking the same thing.
so he was there at the funeral and all this other stuff and this, that, and the other. So now she really takes a look at the files and whatnot, and that's when she up here comes around to Mung and this, that, and the other. The thing breaks and everything, and then we find out that what was in the more portion of the funeral home was a zombie that was just killed. And this is when she finds out what her father really does. Her father is pretty much a mortician who actually helps the mayor of Atlantic City to clean up all of these different monsters that are there in Atlantic City. Now, mind you, out in this whole conversation, we did not know what Bryn is really about and this, that, and the other. And then she happened to mention, it's like, oh, by the way, I'm 1 week from, having my doctorate anyway. I could come and take over at this point. And the mayor was like, okay, fine. Everything seems to be copacetic since your dad was one of us and he was helping us and this, that, and the other. I guess it would be fitting to hire you as well.
The skirt a dress just longer than her panty line and 10-inch heels, and she's a PhD. Right.
No, not a PhD, an MD. She's 1 week away from her MD.
Oh, okay.
Don't ruin the dream for me.
Okay.
So
you forget, I got Mike and I got on chat.
After she accepts the job and everything, this is where she calls back to what would have been her adopted father and everything, and was telling the family that she's going to be there in Atlantic City for a while. And this is where everything to me came off the rails here, because here comes the best friend Steph, and then it's like Steph is like, oh, since you're going to be here, this, that, and the other, we're going to christen the room and we're going to throw this party. And I'm up here like, wait a second, you just took a new job, you just found out about all these monsters being in Atlantic City, and you're going to throw a party after you was warned that most of the time when these so-called sightings of monsters happen in parties and everything to that magnitude, and your so-called best friend decides like, oh yeah, we're going to have a little bitty party, this, that, and the other, and then here comes all these people that you don't know coming into your hotel room to have this one party. And then everybody's enjoying themselves, and then that's when you happen to notice Mung, and Mung is up here like really harassing people. Like, something. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, did you understand what I talked about? What you was told? This is not just a party. I believe somebody has infiltrated your party. It's either a zombie or some type of monster that have interfered with your party here. They're here. So he's going around hunting around and this, that, and the other, and then everything is going to like heck in a handbasket. They're trying to cover up everything, and then here comes some girls to be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" This, that, and the other, and he was up there like, "Okay, fine. I got to figure out who's doing this, but I can't blow my cover. I have to make it look like I'm here for the party, but yet not really trying to be a part of it." And that's when he noticed the bass player.
Oh no.
And then the bass player happened to be a zombie, and then they played they play it in such a way that Bryn kind of like egged him on with some sexual advances and everything for Mung to go ahead and just slice his neck and kill him and this, that, and the other. And they clean up everything, and no one's the wife.
It was a zombie who could play the bass.
Yes.
So he was making a living while he was dead.
Yes. Oh, we haven't got completely off the rails as of yet, but this is not why I don't like it, because again, I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not a big horror fan. To me, this is not horror. It's like, okay, what are you trying to be here? So they're up here. It's like, okay, they got the zombie, this, that, and the other. And they contact the mayor. The mayor is there, and this, that, and the other. They're trying to figure out this, that, and the other. And the mayor was like, "Look, I don't want you to get involved with anything else anymore, and this, that, and the other." Blah 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 blah. It's like, look, you hire. She was like, "You hire me, this, that, and the other." Blah 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 blah. It's like, well, it's like, I'm going to do my job, this, that, and the other. And then Mung was like, "Nope, you're not going out on any other missions until after I train." So they go through the whole training montage and her to learn how to do X, Y, and Z, yada, 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 and everything. After it's all said and done, she goes and tries to hang out with her friend Steph again, and blah, 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 blah. They're doing all this other stuff. And then she happens to meet this other guy that's kind of like scrupulous and all this other stuff. And one thing lead to another. She comes back and she calls back home, and then her mom picks up. She's kind of like asking her, it's like, "Hey, have you met any hot boyfriends? This, that, and the other. Are you doing X, Y, and Z? Blah, 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 blah." And she's like, "No, I've just been doing the job and this, that, and the other." And this is when, after she gets off the phone, she goes out there and tells the stepdad, it's like, "Hey, she's doing okay, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah." It's like, okay, fine. I'm about to go out to Atlantic City to visit, or, to visit her, to make certain that everything is okay, yada, yada, yada. So, she's up here, the wife to the stepfather, or I should say the adopted father, was like, "Okay, fine, this, that, and the other." It's like, take the son with you. He needs to know this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And then this is where we find out that, she kind of cheating behind his back, yada, yada, yada. And at this point, it's like, okay, this whole cultural thing about this family is fucked up, takes me out the story. Make up your mind. Is this going to be a monster story? Is this really going to be a weird family story about how the family is kind of like strange and weird? Make up your mind here. So we go back to where Brent is back at the hotel that the adoptive father owns and everything. So they're at the hotel, they're at the pool and everything. It seems like everything is jumping off, yada, yada, yada. And then, one thing leads to another. And, she kind of happens to notice that the one strange guy that kind of like was, had like scrupulous intentions and everything, was doing something weird and all this other stuff. And then she happens to notice that one person was going into this dark area in the shadow and everything. And she follows her and everything to that mansion. It's like, "No, you have to get back upstairs, this, that, the other. Everything is fine." And then slowly but surely she starts turning into a vampire. So she's like, "Okay, fine, I'm going to go back up the stairs, this, that, the other." So she rips the door off, and then the light pretty much kills the vampire. So she kind of figure out something's not right here. What's the deal with all these monsters coming out?
That couldn't have been much of a vampire if that's all it took to do her in.
Yeah.
Especially she was already at the party during the daytime.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. That's the messed up thing, because she was following this dude, but she was there, already there in the shadows when she went into the door frame.
Okay.
So when she gets down the stairs about to get ready to follow him into the next door, that's when he's like, "No, don't go in there, this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah." And then that's when she noticed that she started to turn. So when she left, she just breaks out the door and this, that, and the other. So illustration wise, it gets kind of confusing until you really pay attention to the panels in detail. It makes sense, but it just didn't make sense here.
Yeah.
So as the stepfather comes into Atlantic City towards the hotel, he's like, "Okay, fine, I gotta make a stop. I gotta meet somebody, this, that, and the other." He didn't realize the son was there there behind the scenes and everything. So he sees this, him to make the stop. It's like, and everything. And then he sees who his father was talking to. And then he was like, all of the parents like, no, I got to find Bryn now because she needs to know what's going on here.
Let me guess. Dad's part of the monster betrayal?
It gets worse here. So pretty much the adopted mother is like up here checking on the son because she thinks that the son was there. It was still at the house. It's like, oh, he's gone, this, that, and the other. So she tries to call him. It's like, hey, Bobby's not there, this, that, and the other. It's like Bobby is missing. He must have snuck out with you, this, that, and the other. And then that's when the father was like, darn it, that kid better not screw up my plans.
Oh, okay.
So we get
So
further.
that ain't who they think he is.
Yeah, we get further into the story here, this, that, and the other. She's, Bryn is trying to figure out what the whole deal was going on and trying to figure out what, the connection between what her biological father did for the mayor of New Jersey and all this other stuff here and what's going on. So while she's at the morgue, Steph, her best friend, ended up seeing Bobby and finds Bobby, he's up in a panic and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, she brings him to Bryn. Bryn brings her up to the room and everything. And that's when she was up here, like, okay, something's not right. Why would our adopted father now? Bryn and Bobby are blood related. Okay. They're both got adopted. They both got adopted by this guy and this lady. But
they're from the same family originally.
Right.
Okay. But this guy and this lady are not blood relatives.
Yeah, so Bryn is trying to, figure out what secrets is going on and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. So she goes back on the boardwalk and everything. She finds Mung. Mung was bringing another, monster body out, out to keep it from being in the open and everything, to keep people from panicking and yada, yada, yada. And everything seemed to be hunky-dory, this, that, and the other. She's trying to put two and two together. So she finally goes back to the room to talk to Bobby. She brings Bobby some comics and this, that, and the other. And Bobby is kind of like calmed down and this, that, and the other. So she's trying to put it all together and this, that, and the other. So the guy that was, that was there, that's so-called managing the hotel, that's kind of like scrupulous and everything. It's like, hey, yeah, you got to come with me and this, that, and the other. It's like, I think, you have to meet our special guest for the night, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. So she goes through the whole hotel and everything, see the casino and everything, see how everything is above board, trying to keep her calm and everything until
it's her stepdad.
Dear old adopted dad.
Oh, okay. It's the adopted.
Dear old adopted dad is the special guest.
Oh no. What type of monster is he?
He's sitting there. It's like, what's all this fanfare, this, that, the other? And that's when everything comes out. It's like, no, I'm the main man here. Everything is cool and this, that, and the other. This is the reason why you have the hotel room, this, that, and the other. It's like, okay, what's going on? And he was like, yeah, I'm the head man as far as this casino racket. It's like, what casino racket? A monster casino racket.
Oh.
And this is when it comes out and say, it's like, what's the perfect enforcer in this, that, and the other? It's like to use all these different monsters and everything to this magnitude as your enforcers. The mob would pay a good penny and this, that, and the other, and yada, yada, yada. It's like whether it be, forced labor, picking up old debts, putting scare into people, making the push for insurance money, all this other stuff. It's like this is what's this is how all this stuff works, and they are expendable.
Hey, even the monstrous undead have got to make a living.
Again, he has some type of hold on him, so he's like the main guy that's that is allowing these monsters to do what they do here. And then that's when she asks, like, well, what does my real dad have anything to do with it? And he says, well, he kind of stood in the way of business. He was going around killing them. But the thing about it is, like, why was he killing them was the question, which they never truly answered. because if these things were mob sanctioned or in league with all of the casinos in some type of mob like way, what was this have to do with anything here?
Well,
And
my
then that's
idea would be sometimes that one would forget that he was doing a job and his nature would take over.
yep.
And they'd have to dispose of him, and so it wouldn't become, it wouldn't become something that was known to the outside world. At least that's what my inner writer is saying. I could see how that would work, but occasionally that means, the occasional zombie, vampire, whatever, steps out of line and forgets that they're there to do a job and decides to go for little extracurricular activities, and they have to then be dealt with.
But again, that's the whole thing. Her father knew about everything, and that's but the thing about it is like, well, the one thing that he haven't stated as of yet, which is about to come in a couple of pages here, because this is where Bren really decides to turn on, because again, Steph is there, she has her smart little comments and everything to that magnitude. She was up here, it's like, oh, look at the mermaid. She's dressed in a nice costume. It looks very, very real, and this, that, and the other. And then good old adopted dad, it's like, oh, that's nonsense. I invited her for a special reason. And this is it. Pushes her into the water, and so-called mermaid turned into a real mermaid to kill her.
Okay. They look sweet. They'll sweetly drown you.
Yeah, and then that's when Steph is like, Brandon, save me. The first person that she killed was the dude that was in the water with her, flirting with her, and this, that, and the other. And all the other people were celebrating, who was with this so-called adopted dad. Is just they just doing their thing and this, that, and the other. So Brandon's like, okay, I have a little trick here. I'm going to put toxic aquatic granules up in the water, and then next thing you know, it's like, by miracle, I'm choking. It's like, okay, let me help Steph get out the pool and this, that, and the other. And like, okay, that was so lackluster. They could have did so much more. And this is when the so-called adopted dad started going after Bren. It was about to get ready to kind of choke Bren out and this, that, and the other. Then another zombie there was trying to capture Steph to kind of keep things in order, blah, 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 blah. And then one thing leads to another. We got these so-called flying, I want to call them flying monkeys, but they're not really flying monkeys. They pattern after flying monkeys. They go and grab both her and the so-called adopted dad to bring them to the pier.
Oh, they made me think of gargoyles from that picture. I was thinking of gargoyles from like the movie Gargoyles way back in the day.
Yep. So pretty much, the so-called adopted dad brings her to the pier and everything. It's like, okay, fine. We're about to hash this out. We're going to hash this out. We're going to try to figure out what we can do to make this work. Because he's like, you can't go and kill my army. You can't do, you can't do this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, if you don't like that, let me show you this here. And then he shows her. It's it's kind of like a pity and this, that, and the other. And then she shows her the kind of like the whole source of where they're getting, kind of like either making or getting the monsters from, and this, that, and the other.
Oh, so they're extra dimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
So he's up here, is like trying to convince her to be on her side and this, that, and the other. And then, he trapped the mirror, and then here comes Mung in the mirror trying to come save Bren from what's going on and this, that, and the other. And it's like one thing leading to another, and they're kind of like at odds with one another. And then all of a sudden, here comes the adopted mom.
Oh no.
So the adopted mom was like, no, it's like, you don't understand. It's like, you had a great life for a party girl. We provided you all this, that, the other, this, that, blah, 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 blah. Now, mind you, in the very beginning, in the beginning of this part of the story, Daryl adopted dad was like, the only reason you and Bobby are here is because she has a soft spot for you guys.
Okay.
And this is when we find out that she's one of them.
Oh, mom is a monster?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
He ended up marrying one of the monsters.
How
Well,
wonderful.
actually, they both are.
Okay, which is
So that's when we find out that he ended up killing her actual biological dad. And this is where everything leads to another. Mung is on the roller coaster. It's like, okay, fine, get off the boardwalk. This, that, and the other. We're about to end it now. Mung shoots the pier with a bazooka. Boom, blows up most of the pier with everybody that's there on it. We don't know what the final outcome of said adopted dad and mother and this, that, and the other. And then the mayor, and then afterwards, the mayor appears like, yeah, this is a good job, this, that, and the other. It's like, at least we could, breathe a sigh of relief for right now. We still have to deal with the stragglers, but we could breathe a sigh of relief right now, dealing with all the monsters that's here in Atlantic City. And then the following day, we see that there's still more zombies and creatures that's still out there for Brent to actually fight here.
well, because otherwise you don't really have a comic book series now, do you?
Well, this comes off more like a one shot now because of the simple fact that they did like the one side story, and I think they said that this story was originally in a different issue. I'm going to go back to where they said that story came from, because at the very end of the book they did like a character gallery here, but they said that this last story was a part of the Velvet Rope. This like originally published in the Velvet Rope graphic novel. So this was like an extra story that was in the Velvet Rope graphic novel, which was a Daddy's Little Girl one shot type story.
Okay.
And this was her after she got established as the new so-called city mortuary for Atlantic City.
Okay, so all that book beforehand was her backstory on the job she's doing now.
Exactly.
Okay.
For a book that's supposed to be a takeoff of horror, it did not do anything for me horror. For a book that's supposed to be almost mob-like, it didn't do anything for me mob-like. I didn't like the culture behind the book because it's like, okay, they try to paint her like a spoiled rich party girl when she really wasn't. And then you're trying to bring in, oh, surprise, surprise, I killed your dad, blah, 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 blah. I knew your dad. That's the only reason why we kept you. And besides, my wife over here has a thing for kids and this, that, and the other. And her maternal aspect took over. It's like, yeah.
They couldn't have kids on their own, so they just kind of raised these two human kids.
None of the stuff fits here. I mean, at first it started to make sense. It's like even when they brought them, even when the so-called mother showed up, it's like, we gave you the lifestyle that you wanted. You was the party girl, this, that, and the other, and you're about to throw all this up in our face and this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, that sounds like a real mother. Until, oh yeah, we're about to turn into monsters too. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody had an idea for a story. But sometimes, as we've seen, as often happens, there's a difference between an idea for a story and then the actual story.
It wanted to go deep into it, but they didn't know how to really make it go deep. If I can say it in that aspect here.
The bones of the story actually sound pretty interesting. The medical examiner / mortician for monsters in Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a cool concept, but it's like, are you sure this wasn't written by the people from Zenoscope? This sounds just like a Zenoscope story.
No, it's done by Arcana.
Take out Bren, Buffy wannabe, and insert Robin of Locksley or Van Helsing, and it's pretty much the same story.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was thinking there used to be a series on Sci-Fi Channel called Lost Girl.
which is an awesome series.
I love Lost Girl, and
Until Eric Roberts showed up.
yeah, that sort of took all the fun out of it. It took me out of the reality of the world. But the idea of the Fae living in,
Mhm.
and you have the Seelie and the Unseelie court, and they have all their things, and this girl who doesn't know who she is or where she's from, other than the fact that she's been raised by these people and she's not happy, she runs away.
Mhm.
Turns out she's Fae, and she's always felt like a fish out of water. Now she has to learn about what it means to be Fae, and the girl who's befriended her also ends up in her own way becoming part of that world. And I love that story. I love Lost Girl. And this I was sitting there going, okay, because that's what I was thinking. The bass player was a zombie. So he was an undead guy who had to make a living. You had there was so much you could have done with this series where you had these creatures who every once in a while they have to do something they have to do something unsavory for the mob, but outside of that they got to make a living, so they're bass players in the band, they're the mermaid,
And they
they're
were
the
hiding in
mermaid chick
plain
in the
sight.
water.
That's the other thing.
What
They were hiding in plain sight.
I know in DC, in the DC universe it was the Crime Doctor, but in Marvel they had like the Night Nurse, right? And she did like monster stuff for a little while too, because she was
That was, I want to say that was like issue 3 or 4 of her series,
yeah.
where she
But
dealt with a
there's the
monster. But Night Nurse was dealing with super powered beings first.
but there was another doctor that specialized in just supernatural stuff in
Mhm.
Marvel, and that was interesting. Like the medical examiner for monsters sounds like an interesting concept, but all the rest of it, I'm like, yeah, no,
There was
man.
just they were trying to put too much story in that space. If they had pared it down to just the more important things, I think they would have had a really great story.
Mhm.
But
And
when you're trying to throw family drama and then you're going, ooh, would it be interesting? It's like, no, it wouldn't. Okay. It just, I could see the point. Okay, he's going to reveal that he's a monster. Oh, and the mom's also a monster. So there are things in there you could sort of see coming. They never, I was not surprised, but I'm also thinking, okay, as a writer, because I'm thinking the story through, like I said, I was more interested in the idea of, oh, he's undead,
Well,
he's an undead zombie, he's got to earn a living as a bass player.
well,
So to me, that was more. I would have rather have read that guy's story. How did he become a zombie? How could he function and think enough? Because being a musician, even a bass player, that takes abilities.
again,
So
to me, there's a major plot hole, and this is the editor part of me
a
coming out.
major plot hole. There's plot
But
holes
yeah,
all over that
there's a
puppy.
big plot hole.
Yeah, but
There's
there
a,
are plot holes all over the place.
but it still doesn't take away from the biggest one. The biggest one is that when she got the letter about her biological father dying,
Mm-hmm.
the adoptive father could have stopped her.
And when did he kill the biological father?
In the very beginning, the first page.
Okay, but
First
I'm
page of
saying,
the book.
okay, so she leaves because, okay, it's to me, it's like, okay,
Like I said, she gets a bonded and sealed letter, only addressed to her.
that her daddy's been dead, that her daddy just got unalived. Okay, so
And nobody knows what's going on.
and
And
he
then
disappears, and it doesn't. How did
and
he
she just
explain
comes
not
up
being
through
there to kill
she
daddy?
comes
Was
up
it a business trip?
no questions, no nothing. It's just like, oh, I gotta go to Atlantic City. So they're up here thinking it's like, oh, she's about to go to a party. I'm up here like she just got delivered a strange letter, and the letter is up here up here, talking about her biological father. Now, again, why wasn't it addressed to her and the younger brother? It was just only addressed to her. All that is just strange. It's just poor writing.
Well, that and the visuals are off.
Mm-hmm.
She's supposed to be an MD, but she's
She's
like
1 week from being officially a MD.
But what I'm saying, 1 week away, even she's dressed like a cheap hooker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's dressed like a cheap hooker on the morning after. All the women, even Mama, are dressed like cheap hookers on the morning after. It just kind of, I'm just sitting there like, okay, I don't know if I would have gone through this entire story. I don't know if I would have stuck with it if you weren't reviewing it. I would not have sat there.
Why? You remember what I said last week? I got about halfway through it and I said, I'm hating every last page of this.
You had said that and I didn't, but we didn't know the book I didn't know the book you were talking about at the time. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm sitting here going, yeah, we just saved y'all a bunch of time and money because there was so much wrong with this. And like I said, I would have, who edited this? Because my writing and my editing hats are fighting for position here. And I'm thinking, who the hell edited this? Because there is so much about this story that is so often wrong. At some point, an editor should be like, wait, the story doesn't make sense. Cut this, and this, readjust this. You might have the makings of a good story. You and I have had these fights.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have had these fights where it's like, I'm not trying to wreck your story. And of course it's your story. You have the right to do it. I'm just trying to make sure that what we put out is a story worth reading. And this is like, well, somebody checked my spelling and made sure all the periods were in the right place, but didn't really edit the story. And that's sad. Because an editor would have sat down and said, this doesn't work. And here's why. And here are ways that we can fix it.
I mean, it's like the adopted dad was just, it's just like, he was just too, and that's what I guess was throwing me off more so. It's like the culture. It's like Brennan's attitude in the very beginning, and then Steph amping up the fact that she was a party girl. Oh, they're like, no, you don't party after
you're a week
biological dad dies.
And you're a week away from finishing med school and you go party?
Well, that part is like week away from having your MD. You did all your final work and everything. It's like, okay, fine. You have some time off. You're going to go and party. I can accept that. I don't accept. You just took a job that your father has as like a morticianer for zombies. You just now realize that you're dealing with the supernatural right now. And you're allowing your best friend to throw a party in your hotel room.
It does.
And you're going like, oh, okay. I don't know these people, but okay.
None of it phases.
It's like a disjunction between culture and what you think is cool for a story.
Well, no part of that though, Joe, part of that though is you admittedly are not a horror fan.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched enough bad horror movies from the 80s, the background characters who just die, sometimes off screen, don't need a real reason to throw a party. It's just part of it. So that doesn't jump the shark for me because I've seen enough bad movies where
she's supposed to be
your mom and dad died in a fire and you're going to become a PhD at this wonderful science lab next Thursday and your dog got eaten by your cat, but we're still going to have the kegger because Ronnie wants to come over. I've seen that a million times in bad horror movies. So that doesn't
I don't watch
me.
The bad horror films then.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't faze me. That there's just worse. There are other things in there like, and again, this is not what most people who write stories will tell you, but I'm of the belief you don't always have to put everything out about the character immediately.
No.
No, but
You
it should
some
make
characters
sense. It should make
some characters
sense.
work better if you don't know their backstory. If they don't have a backstory. And to put one on it, it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, okay, some people are in the wrong boat with me or this. Star Wars got a lot worse when the prequels came out, and we know what actually happened leading up to the original Star Wars movie. When originally we didn't know and we all got to make our own stories, they were a lot more interesting than goddamn Jar Jar Binks and midichlorians and whatever else the fuck that was. You don't always have to tell everything. That's part of the fun. Like, I don't give a damn that Wolverine's real name is James Howlett. He was born blah 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 and this, that, and the other. When he was just Logan and had metal skeleton, he was cool. The more you add to that, the less interesting it is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell everything.
But you have to tell enough where it tracks. And like I said, there were things that I found more interesting than the main characters. Like I said, you had a zombie. When we think about zombies, we're thinking brain eaters, blah, blah, blah. He was the bass player in the band. He had to audition for the band. He had to prove he could play the bass. He wasn't eating his fellow band members. That to me was more of a story. That to me was more of a story than the main story. His story is the story I would want to read.
You want to know the character story who I want to read?
The mermaid, the mer chick?
No, Mung, the so-called assistant.
Yeah, he probably has some really interesting story to tell. He probably has some really.
Because again, it's like he did not miss a beat. It's like, they threw the party. It's like, why would Mung show up out of nowhere? And then when he did show up and Brent saw him, he was like, you forgot already what we told you. This is the type of breeding ground that will bring a monster here. Everything that was going on, it's like Mung was kind of showing her what to expect. He was the more interesting character.
But also, okay, this is type of party that would bring a monster here. Okay, that means that monster has to kill everybody. But somebody's going to start wanting to know, well, so-and-so went to Atlantic City and then they disappeared. And yes, people go to Atlantic City, and they go to Vegas and places like that. And they disappear and their bodies are found in the desert, if they're found at all. But what I'm saying is, you have to make it make sense.
Well,
you have to make it make sense. And I'm not
using your example. It wasn't the party that attracted the monster. They had a party and hired a band, and the band happened to have a zombie in it. So if they would have hired Run DMC instead, there'd be no monster there, period.
But what gets me is he was doing what he was paid to. He was in a. He wasn't messing with. He wasn't eating nobody's brain.
Just like the vampire in the alcove.
She was trying to work her go there.
She was chasing after a different guy. She happens to be there. It's like, no, you can't go through that door. This, that, and the other. Blah 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 blah. And she's like, oh, look at her. It's like, oh, okay, fine, no big deal. Rips the upper door off for the sunlight to hit her to kill her.
Where did she get the strength to suddenly rip the door off the hinges to fry a vampire?
Okay. Well, more importantly, why at the party did the main character that I keep wanting to call Buffy? I'm sorry,
Bryn.
When she had her assistant, for no reason other than the fact he's prejudiced against monsters, kill the bass player, why did she say, what the hell is wrong with you? That dude didn't do anything.
No, not even that. She played a role in it to secretly pull them over to the side
so
It's
that they
like,
can
hey,
kill him.
I was like, I'm about to give you some of this, that, and the other. Whack.
You would think like the monster union would be after them for discrimination or something.
Yeah, because he's doing his. He has had to audition for a band. If he's eating brains, he's going to some town 6 towns over. He is not eating people here because he don't want to get caught. And he's not eating his band. Like I said, he just playing his bass and doing his thing.
But it makes.
Hey, dude, you come over here. We got something for you. Come on,
But
baby.
this would make.
Kill his ass.
But
That
this
was
would
his evil.
And now that poor band has to find a replacement before the 3 weddings and the bar mitzvah they have this weekend.
But again, this goes back to one of the things that was trying to make me interested in this book, because the whole thing about what the mayor said is like, yeah, these creatures are hiding in plain sight. You don't know when they're going to pop up, and if they're living their lives like normal people, who to say that they're a terror?
That's why my first thought when you first started talking about it, this reminds me of Lost Girls. You had the Fae, you had all these different types of Fae, and many of them, yeah, you had those that were doing unsavory things, but the majority of them were just trying to get through the damn day. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the same thing. It's one of the reasons why I loved Grimm. Because, yeah, you had different creatures that, you know, when they would get out of hand, especially once they knew they had a Grimm that wasn't just going to kill you just for the sake of existing, they were like, we got a problem over here. He don't want to behave. Can you help us? But I loved Grimm. I love that world. They're talking about bringing that back. Oh, baby, please. The Ice Beavers alone got me happy. Okay? I want to see Grimm. John and I used to love to watch Grimm. We would sit there and talk about the different creatures and how most of these guys were just trying to get through the day. Most of those creatures were just trying to live their lives and not make, you know, they just want to live their lives. They just had this little difference about themselves, but they were just trying, you know, the Ice Beaver. Hey girl, you can't miss with an Ice Beaver. Blue Button, hello. But they had, you know, that was part of the charm of that series, because you would run into all these Vesson, and it wasn't just monster of the week. And sometimes it wasn't monster, it was solving a situation that didn't involve having to kill someone for the sake that they were Vesson. Sometimes it was a situation of getting people to make peace, getting someone to realize you can't live here because it's not safe for you or anybody else. Let's see what we can do to help you. It wasn't like we got to, something came up, we got to kill it. That was one of the things I loved about that series. When it's like, yeah, he's a zombie in the band. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I said, undead guy making a living as a musician. I would pay to see that movie. You know, I would pay to see that movie, or at least get it on the streaming service, you know, rented from Fandango. This, I can't ever get the minutes of my life back from this book. And I'm disappointed, because there were so many things that I saw possibilities for what they could have done that they pissed on. And I'm just
whole reveal with the adopted father. That's like, oh, so it's like you say that you're in bed with kind of like the mob now, with having these monsters as enforcers. I was like, that's interesting. And then later on, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to try. It's like, I'm going to try to kill your best friend in front of you, and then I'm going to grab you, snatch you up, and take you to where we're at, to the portal and everything, where all the monsters and stuff is coming from, only to reveal that, yeah, me and your adopted mother are monsters too. It's like, why?
That would have been an interesting story.
The
Two
monster mob
raising human kids and not letting their natures get the better of them and murdering these kids. That would have made a story.
the monster mob, the way it was described in the book, kind of reminds me of going back to law school, the Dark Fae, the way they were organized.
The Unseelie Court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which would have been a cool concept, or like Vampire the Masquerade. I know it's a role playing game, but they had a show. It was like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there in the bones of the story that they ignored. That would have been more interesting.
They did a TTRPG of you can find it on Geek and Sundry, or either that or Dimension 20 for Vampire the Masquerade.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also interesting because you had these vampires having this life, you know, and it's like, okay, we need to blend in and not be the problem. I mean, hell, Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there are things they could have done and should have done, and they just missed it. It's like they had so many kernels of ideas that they just tossed aside for the sake of the story that to me made no sense. You've got a week away from getting your MD. You're not partying in Atlantic City. A week away from finishing out med school, you're getting all your stuff. You're trying to find out where you're going to get at that point, you're trying to find out where's your first job. You've had to work as an intern. Did you get a job at the hospital you interned with? Did another hospital reach out to you? You know, there are all these things that should have been occurring in her life that weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, we're gonna go to Atlantic City and party. No, not while she still hasn't crossed that stage. Not when people that she's looking to go and apply to jobs for may find out, oh, you got busted at this party in Atlantic City. You're not our material. Maybe that drug rehab place over, outside of the back of Skid Row will take you. Do you get what I'm saying? It's just, and she doesn't sound like someone who is a week away from getting her MD.
Nor acted like that.
There's so much about this that it's like, okay, you don't understand the characters that you're creating. You haven't researched it. You haven't really thought about. You've got some ideas that are more interesting than what is supposed to be your key character. Following her just introduces us to better story ideas. She is not the real story here. It is just, to me, like I said,
it was so much stuff that was dropped as far as
that could have made for a more interesting story where her entire character was like the Crypt Keeper, and all she did was introduce the story of how this dead monster ended up in her morgue. That would have been more interesting.
Came to her, or she ended up becoming the doctor for these guys. They have troubles. They're undead. They kind of can't have certain things. She's getting her MD. She understands biology and stuff. You got a guy who's a zombie. At some point, he's going to need to see her because he's going to have something to act as an agent against his body deteriorating. And that shit's going to smell. So if nothing else, he's got to, hey, can you help me with something, a reagent, something to keep me from, disintegrating? Because I kind of like my life playing.
But that's if she worked with her so-called adopted father.
But I'm saying
that's the disconnect. It's like you decided to join up with the mayor because your biological father was
joined him, but there's nothing from him. There is no, usually somebody who is doing a doctor, he would have had all these notes. He would have studied. He would have had a shit ton of research information and materials that she could use and better understand, as well as any personal notes in a notebook to say why he had taken this part of the fight instead of helping them. You know, we
Or
don't see
or,
anything
or,
like
even, or
that.
even better yet, it's like how did her and Bobby get adopted in the first place?
If
How
she had
long how
if her
long
father
ago
was
has
still alive,
has her dad disappeared?
and
You know, it's like they made it seem like, yeah, Brand and Bobby has been there for quite some time, not just like a year. I mean, several years.
yeah, but if she's finishing up med school, she's in her at the youngest, she's in her late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, now I do have to apologize. At one point during the review, you called the adopted dad the stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sorry,
I
that was
just
me.
I just assumed that the mother was the biological mother, and they've been raising him since birth.
I
So
made that
okay,
mistake. I called him the
uh,
stepdad, and
Mm-hmm.
he had to correct me. He's their adopted father. She's
okay,
the adopted mother. And the question
okay.
then is like the dad gets up and he leaves his children behind. What happened to their mom? And it's like, okay, what would have made a man just walk away from his children? Was the mom killed by a monster? And then someone said, oh, this particular monster was connected with this organization and there, and so the dad was making it his crusade to take revenge for his wife and destroying as many of these monsters as he could get his hands on. But at a certain point, there should have been a character arc for the dad to go, you know what? I've noticed something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these
Or
creatures on their own aren't trying to be difficult. They're not
mhm.
trying to be destructive to human life. Most of these guys and gals are trying to blend in and make lives for themselves better than the lives in the case of the zombie guy, he was probably a bassist before he got zombified
Mm-hmm.
and then picked up where he left off. So to me, it would have made sense to say the dad was, and in other words, some sort of notebook to say he was only doing this if creatures were getting out of hand. A particular creature got out of hand and hurt somebody that he wasn't supposed to, and dad put him down. But putting him down just for the sake of putting him down doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense, especially since the adopted father
Knew all about him.
all about this and was there and was the one to kill him. So there's a lot of history that has
Uh,
not been revealed as far as why the monsters were there, why the mayor wanted them destroyed.
Yeah, because that's another thing. What is
Because
the mayor is opposing this operation? And it's like, well, the thing is just like with Vegas back in the day, those towns were run by the mob. Somebody may have had the title mayor, but we knew his boss wasn't the voters. His boss were the guys who lived in on the Jersey Shore or whatnot. So it doesn't
and then
make
and then why
sense.
do you wait to the end of the story to kidnap him?
I,
It's
I've,
like it's
I've got
like
it. Got it.
Okay.
Dad, dad met mom, and she was a monster hoe, and he didn't know it, but the mayor did. And the adopted dad was her monster pimp, and that was his stepping stone into becoming the kingpin of monster
But
mob.
how did she have the children?
Well, because she was the dad was one of her Johns,
Okay, and
and
she wasn't using protection.
yeah, because look, this was in 2011, so this was set before that, and
but that
you
would
didn't
mean
always
that
have to
Brand would
start.
have been able to turn into a monster. So would Bobby.
Not necessarily, because there was that blonde-headed chick on the Addams Family that it wasn't a monster, or on the
Oh,
Munsters.
okay.
Yeah, you talk
Yeah.
about Marilyn, cousin
Yeah,
Marilyn.
yeah.
Cousin
So,
Marilyn.
and that's the story. Boom, I
Yeah,
sold.
because we knew about the Munsters. We knew Marilyn had been orphaned as a small child, and Herman and Lily took her in and were raising her as part of the family. And for her, she wanted to be more like them. She felt out of place. She didn't, even though she was out in the world, she was going to high school.
Mm-hmm.
So she saw people who looked like her every day. Yet that was not normal to her. The house she grew up in was her normality.
Mm-hmm.
And she was okay with werewolves and vampires and, monsters who had been put together from other dead folks and stuff. She was okay with that. That was reality. She didn't bring her friends over. You notice Marilyn never had any friends who came over
She
to hang out.
brought 1 or 2 dates over at Herman's request.
Yes.
Just to protect her.
But what I'm saying is
but
she didn't.
After that, it's just like, no, she did not have.
She didn't have. She didn't have little girlfriends. She didn't have study groups or anything. If she did, that life was something she lived. She wasn't protecting herself so much as she was protecting her family. She was keeping her family safe to make sure that other people would not get the wrong idea, and they could be put in danger.
You made me think about the episode that Marilyn and Lily open up a beauty salon. If you remember that episode, because that was the very first time that Lily had to deal with normal people in such a way, dealing with what their aspect of beauty was, as opposed to.
Well, also Lily was a model for a short time because she could levitate. And when she went in for the audition, she levitated across this floor. She had her cape on so you couldn't see her feet, but she kind of glided a little above the floor. They made it so you got the realization she's not walking, she's kind of gliding. And the guy was like, "Oh my goodness, can you continue?" And she's like gliding, and he's not getting it that her feet aren't touching the ground. So, and then she got to model for a short time. So she had some connection in the human world and dealing with that. Herman took the job he did because he could work in the sewer, kind of dark down there. And, he wasn't a danger. He was just a guy who looked funny, worked in the sewer, didn't get anybody no rough or anything. And he was a decent dude. So
and almost got drafted by the Dodgers.
So,
now everything that we have come up with is way more interesting than that book Joe reviewed.
Yeah. Yes. So final verdict, scale of 1 to 10, I give this book. I'm sorry. It's like I tell people, I'm sorry. It's like I'm just not into horror, but that's not a horror book. I don't know what type of book it is. It is what it is.
You read book 1 of And the Coming of Nighttime.
Yeah.
That's a horror.
I don't hate it.
So I mean, you have read horror. So yeah,
I read a lot of horror. I like what was it called? Give me a second here.
Cliff, you have a fan.
Yeah, it is his turn to review books here while I think of the name of the.
It's 9:30.
30 minutes over. I'll save my reviews for another day.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sorry that book was just that bad because we had more than enough time here.
I know, because one of the books I have to review, I'm gonna need some time to bitch about. But
okay.
I will say, if you want to end this on a more positive note,
please do. Take us out.
I'll review this in more detail later, but if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend the Justice League Unlimited series Mark Waid is writing. He started it after the Absolute Power event, where Amanda Waller took over the world and was stealing powers, and it's dealing with the aftermath of that. And they're like, Plastic Man and Phantom Girl's powers were switched, and both Atoms are working with Captain Atom to try and get everybody's powers back to where they're supposed to be. And it's a good, fun superhero story, like the old Justice League stories used to be. Like I can go into more detail later on about it, but it's a good story to read. It's a fun comic. The biggest thing I like about it is you have a writer who knows where he's going and he knows all the characters. So out of I think I've read 4 or 5 of the first issues, the first 4 or 5 issues. There's never a moment where any of the characters that he brings into it, whether it's Doctor Occult or Swamp Thing or Captain Atom or Superman, none of them do anything that's like out of character. Like sometimes you'll read a book, and it's like they shoehorn a character into a position because they need something for the story, and the writer doesn't really know what character to use. There's none of that.
Good.
All of the characters feel like who they should be. Mr. Terrific is Mr. Terrific. Um, it's so like I said, there's more to it, and I can go into it later. But yeah, if you want a good fun superhero series, Justice League Unlimited is really good. And in the later issues, Mr. Fantastic starts his own little section, cross section group during DCKO. So you get to see how he would handle that situation. So it's a really good book. I recommend it. And there's no zombie bass players in it, sadly though. He needs to work on that.
Mhm.
Hold
All
on.
right. All right. So
Cliff, you've been asked the question.
Oh God,
That's
is
Death of
that
the
death?
Endless on your
Yes, that
shirt,
is
right?
Death of the Endless on my shirt. My dear wife
Okay.
gave this to me one year. Because she cosplayed as Death at one of our at a Superman celebration one year and pulled it off marvelously. So yes, yeah, it is Death.
Okay, it's a girl. She is one of my favorite of that group. She is my favorite.
Yes.
Her and what's her name? Oh goodness, my brain has shut down. I need to go to bed. She was a K name, and one she was just Delirium,
Mm-mm.
who used to be Delight, and then
Yeah.
their elder brother left, and she turned into Delirium, and hadn't been the same since.
Yeah.
I do not work for Drake.
Yes. All of I liked
I'm
all of
just
the
old
Endless.
and I know shit. Okay, I'm old and I know shit.
all
I
That's
right.
all
like the
you need to know.
concept of all of the Endless. Towards the end of Sandman, some of the stuff was a little is like how can like how exactly is Morpheus dying? He's an abstract idea. That okay. But overall, I enjoyed all of I liked all the Endless.
I did too. But I loved Death. I loved I guess in some ways she reminded me of the character John Dye played on Touched by an Angel. He was the angel
Mhm.
of death. And
Mhm.
of the three of them, he had the most reverence for life.
Mhm.
So life was something he took very seriously.
Yeah.
So and that was something that she had. It wasn't just, oh, I gotta go take it was she treasured those lives. That job
Mhm.
to her was and but at the same time she saw the beauty in it, and it wasn't a burden to her. Sometimes Dream felt burdened, whereas she never felt burdened by her position.
Mhm.
And it was one of the things I loved about her.
And
And I love the
if
girl who
you
played her in the series. I thought she
yes.
did
Yeah,
such a good
she was good.
job. I thought she did, especially when she had to take the baby.
Mhm.
I smile through tears at that. I'm old, I'm female, and I'm crazy. Get the hell over yourselves,
Yeah.
okay? But anyway,
If you want if you want a fun, just out of context death story to read, um, Paul Cornell wrote Action Comics for a little while
okay.
after Blackest Night, and he did a whole storyline about Lex Luthor was looking for one of the leftover Black Lantern rings on Earth, and it led him to Death of the Endless. So
Wow.
you get this cool little, I think it was only one issue, it might have been a two-parter, cool little interaction between Lex Luthor and Death. And
Did he get a heart? He got a hard on for her, didn't he?
it was so well written. And it was just, it's like Death from Sandman meeting Lex Luthor. If you can imagine what that interaction would be like, it's pretty much what you got. So I want to say it was only a one issue. It was a one issue, but it was a fun read, and I'm sure it's only like $1 at your local comic shop. So
I haven't had a chance to get to my local comic shop lately because I've got something coming up that I hope I can next month reveal. If so, I've been very happy. And it's something that hopefully my fellow artists, especially if you do a lot of your own printing, that I've only just found out about, that I think if you don't know, this will be helpful. Anyway, it is 9:41.
Yep.
I got
You
peaches
ready?
in the fridge. Yes, I got peaches in the fridge. Okay.
mm.
Thank you for coming tonight. Those of you who are here with us live, and whether you catch us live or you catch us later, we appreciate your bothering to take the time to, come hang out, especially since we spent the first hour or so arguing about Supergirl and Marvel and whatnot. But we had fun. We hope you had some fun too. And it is hot as hell here in Chicago. So I'm going to be leaving. I'm Elaine Haygood. My website is lenscaponline.com. You can find me here on YouTube. I have my own channel. I've actually got like 36 videos up there. You can also find me at Pinterest, and my videos are there. You can find me at Facebook. But you can find me mostly at lenscaponline.com. That's my website. If you go to the bottom of the initial web page, there's a little thing that says contact us. Drop me a line, say howdy. Please don't try to grift me into buying some service that you have that I know is a sham, because I really not want to get evil and have to cuss you out. Okay. But other than that, we love you being here. We love you all. Thank you for taking another night with us. Y'all be safe. Take care. Peace.
And that brings us to Cliff.
Thank you for joining us. If you had a good time, we're glad you came and you enjoyed it. If you didn't have a good time, something's wrong with you, not us. Well, thank you. I'm sorry. It's almost 10 p.m. Central here in the Memphis area, and it's still 90 degrees, so I'm melting. If you're bored, you can come down here to Olive Branch and watch me murder a kitten for climbing inside my comic boxes. And if not, join us next time where I try to convince Elaine to go on with me to write the story about the zombie bassist. Come again.
And that brings us to the point to mention that tonight's show is brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics. If you need a good cover for your novel, graphic novel, or comic book, you can always hit up Jeffrey Hayes at Plasma Fire Graphics. You want an award-winning artist who have been known to have good enough graphics to get people to your table to ask you about your books. If you don't believe me, then believe this video.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the graphics for yourself now, so if you do need somebody to help you with that cover, make sure that you hit up Jeffrey Hayes at plasmafiregraphics.com or his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as I am concerned, I will be back here on Saturday with another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. So until then, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you ever wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. We'll catch you here next Thursday for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum. Enjoy the 4th of July for those who are here in the United States here. And yes, we are still doing a From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher on the actual holiday. Catch you then. Bye.